Okay. Well, Rob Bartleson, thank you for coming on the show. This really is an honor for me. I think you know how I feel about you and everything, and like I've been wanting to get you on here. Been kind of wanting to get everything set up with the cameras and get everything a little more professionally done before I brought you on. But for me, this really is an honor. To kind of tell everyone your background: prior Army Ranger, 8 years in the Army, and then 26 years total service, with the last bit of your service being combat controller, all the way up to the tier 1 level with CAG and Devgru, and then you were part of my instructor, ops soup at the 2-3, and now you got an amazing farm over here in outside Niceville.
Correct.
With the pigs and the goats, and it's an awesome farm, which we're going to get some video footage. We're going to come out, I'm hoping this week or next week.
Yeah.
Come out there and show the farm and everything. And I mean, for the audience, it is the most organic, free range pigs and goats out there. I mean, I see them out there. You chop a tree down, they just come out there and just start munching them up. And you've been doing that since you retired, I think, 2019?
Yeah, so I retired in 17.
17?
17, and then we started kicking it off around 18.
Okay.
It's been a year with the company.
Yeah, because I see the farmers market selling all the good meats in the local area, and it's good stuff. I mean, I love it. I mean, especially that sausage you make.
Oh yeah, the whole hog.
The whole hog sausage. It is.
We built our name on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. But let's just go a little bit from where you're from. I think it's Fort Myers Beach originally, right? Fort Myers?
Yeah, so originally, what I would call home, I mean, it just depends how far back you want to go, but we started around Fort Myers area. Mm-hmm. Fort Myers is where we started, but my dad picked up a job, so we went up to Arcadia, which would be impactful for me because that's a farm town. I mean, if you blink your eyes, you miss it. I mean, especially back then. I mean, it was just a small little town. But getting up there, it got me around cattle, got me around farming, seeing the agriculture, seeing how much I did like it. There's something that comes with it. There's a piece that we all are searching for, and usually you'll find why the farmer does it, because he doesn't do it for money. It's just that it's not even a player in that. So I spent a little bit of time there, got back to Fort Myers, and then shortly after that, that's when I joined the military. So yeah, found out, 'cause I did sports in the military. That was great. It was good. I knew I wanted to be part of a team. You kind of get out there and you float around and trying to find an occupation, a trade, a skill. College, I went to college. I was like, yeah, let's go and try this for a little bit. And just quickly, the academic world is just really, it's just not for me. I've been forced into it so many times to go get something, but it's just not me, and that's okay. So it drove me to the military, and that's when I joined the Army. Started off just regular infantry, old guy, and went to Hawaii. That was my first duty station.
Nice.
Yep. And I knew I wanted more. I just wanted to always climb this ladder. I was just always climbing. Nothing was ever good enough. And it might still be the truth to this day. We'll see what happens. So I'm still writing my story, and I feel good about it. But yeah, so infantry, I was like, man, I want more. So I went to scouts, made it, tried out, did that. Went to LRRP. First time I tried out for LRRP, I didn't make it. But the very next selection they had, I did make it. But I mean, you're talking about an entire division going out and trying out. And here I am, this young punk, you know what I mean? I had no business even being there. I mean, I really don't. Like, I don't think I had anything, but I showed back up. I think I had my EIB when I showed back up, and my air assault, and they sent me off to airborne. But yeah, I mean, I showed up with something. Instead of, hey, I'm just going to show up with maybe opportunity, I started showing up with some skills, and they're like, they recognize, there's a difference in this guy right now. So I got picked up with that, spent a lot of time in that. So that gets always confused when people say the Army Ranger. It wasn't, but I would say LRRP was the closest thing that you could probably get to at that time if you dialed it back. Every one of the team sergeants were from a Ranger battalion. They all had scrolls from jumping into Panama. It was like a requirement. But so we laughed about it because we were like, what happens if we don't go to war? Because we were at a point where there was no war. You go Panama to,
What year was that? Was that like 96?
That was 91.
91?
No, I'm sorry, 92. So 91, I started basic training in October. 92, I got over there and got assigned. So I did LRRP, and then I was coming up for re-enlistment. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I did my Ranger. I went to Ranger school from there, airborne school. And then it was time to re-up, and I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do and what direction. and I always wanted a scuba bubble, and I was looking at all the places I could go to get it. So I knew if I went to Ranger Training Battalion, I could get one, but I had to be lucky. But so I went there, and it worked out for me. It came up for re-enlistment. I didn't want to re-enlist into the Army. I'd seen enough and kind of climbed that ladder as far as I wanted to go. But I did love it. Everything about it, the tactics I learned, the leadership, the people. I mean, it was awesome. But then I was looking over where I had to go fill my air tanks because I was at Ranger Training Battalion and I was on the dive team. And I had to go to 23rd STS to fill them. And I'm looking over there and I'm seeing all this stuff. Man, these dudes got all this gear. I'm like motorcycles, all this stuff. Dudes are cool as could be. I'm getting my air filled and I'm just like, man, I got this thing all wrong, man. I'm like, the coolest stuff ever. So I started talking to a couple of them. Actually, Ron Childress is who I started talking to. And he was like, boys, like, well, what kind of, because we're always just in UDT shorts and a t-shirt, so nobody knows what they are. He's like, well, tell me about yours. I'm like, yeah, well, I got this. And he's like, whoa, you got a scuba bubble? He's like, you got, oh, hell, we'll just get you these other things right here, man, and like, you'll be good. So sure enough, man, he talked me into it, and I did it. And that's where I came into combat control. Spent some time at 23rd. Quickly life had changed forever. I mean, like, it came quick because at 23rd, about the time that I got through the pipeline and got there, man, it wasn't shortly after. I'm telling you, I went to language school. I'm learning how to speak Spanish. I'm like, this is great. I'm going down to Colombia. I'm like, this is awesome, right? And then planes hit, man. Then towers went down, and man, I never spoke another bit of Spanish after that again. It was straight to war, you know. Mm-hmm. And that was a game changer. And that's when I knew I still wanted to climb this ladder. So I knew where I wanted to go, which would end up at 2-4. At the time, I don't even know what they call the stuff anymore. I mean, it changes so much, right? But I just knew, and when I talk about it, I talk about the group. There's just a team that you belong to, and you was part of a team, and you know that team. Everything else is just white noise in the background. It's just there, but it's really not important. It's not on the battlefield. It's not where it all breaks out. Yes, it's great that it's there sometimes, and sometimes it can really be a hindrance, all the white noise. But, yep. That was it.
No, that's really cool. I didn't realize Ron Childress is what got you in the CCT. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't even think about this, but I need to get Ron here on the show. He'd be a blast to have with the knowledge.
That's right. It's deep, the knowledge he has.
Yeah.
It's real deep.
Because he stood up.
Nothing that we always seen eye to eye on many things. But
he stood up the 2-4, I think, the JSOC, right, in the 80s?
He was on the team, and I think he was a team sergeant. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, and that's huge because man, I was lucky enough to be a team sergeant. I mean, you're talking about out of every operator there's only 4 team sergeants, and that's a serious thing to be that. I mean, and especially at that level. So I was a very blessed and lucky man. Mm-hmm. Very, very lucky.
Wow. No, that's super cool. Yeah, so, I always like to tell people kind of how I know the guest. And I've told this story so many times, but I love it because I never would have thought, that was 2010, 13 years later, I'd be sitting here and, we're friends now and stuff. But when I first met you, we were not friends. I was in processing at STTS. I didn't even know who you were. I was down at my cage room, getting ready to leave for the day, first day there. I think I just texted the wife, be home in a little bit or something like that. And I just heard the door slam open to the cage room. And everyone was just in a panic. Grab everything, go to the gym, get down to the beach. And I'm just like, what is going on? I just graduated combat control school. I'm thinking like those days were kind of behind, no more smoke sessions. Man, was I wrong. And I got down to the beach. All the cadre were lined up there. And it was like, this could have been a movie scene. I just saw you kind of spread the instructors. And I just remember seeing this giant of a guy. And you just said, I think you said something like, today's ORM is pain. You said, Commander wants me to get your attention, and I'm going to get it for him. And then it just unleashed like I had never seen in my life. That was about, I think, 4:30 in the afternoon, 4 p.m. I don't think we got back to the unit till about 1:32 in the morning. But we had to make that overwalk bridge over 98 back to Herbert Field. We had to make a human daisy chain and carry one piece item across. And if we did more than one piece, they got sent back. So when I say one piece for the audience, I mean one whole boat, a whole Zodiac boat going across this bridge, one boat motor, one paddle, one kettlebell, one 45-pound plate. I mean, it went all night.
One pencil.
Yeah, I mean, it was one little 2.5-pound plate. It was going across. And this was when I say daisy chain, this was from all the way on the ground over this bridge, over a 4-lane highway to the other side of base. It was a big daisy chain. And when we got back to the unit that night, you didn't say anything the rest of that night. I don't think you did. And then we got back to the unit, and you come back out, and you said, this isn't AETC no more. You're an AFSOC. I can do what I want. Something along those words. But this is what I do remember specific. I mean, it is ingrained in my head almost to the day I die. You said, you will become as hard as woodpecker lips, or you will not survive here. And you just walked off. And I looked at my buddy Grady, and I said, this guy's not messing around. He kind of like uncomfortably laughed. He goes, that guy's not effing around. And that was my introduction to you. So after that, I completely tried to avoid you.
Sure.
Like, sometimes you think you're the top dog, and then you see the real dog, and you're just like, I gotta avoid that guy. But that did not happen. I did not get to avoid you because I was a very brand new staff sergeant.
You had stripes.
I had stripes, and you were not going to let me hide. You didn't let anybody with stripes hide.
No.
At the time, I did not really appreciate that, but I realized what you were trying to make me into. And when I got a lot of time with you was when I couldn't go to free fall because of my eyesight. They wouldn't give me a SWIC waiver.
That's right.
So you said, I kind of started a little bit of a relationship with you, and you said, I'm not going to send you to like MedHold or something like that while you're getting LASIK. You're going to be coming in control of the first phase. So now I was in control of, I actually remember it was like 46 guys. And every day I was on eggshells. I was like, man, I know one of these guys can do anything. It's another 9-hour smoke session.
Oh, for sure.
But you told me, you said, we are going to have a relationship. It is going to be a professional relationship. And you are going to learn to be an NCO. I'm going to teach you Ranger. I'm going to teach you Army leadership, not the Air Force leadership. And whether you like it or not, you're going to become an NCO. And this is what I always tell people. When people ask me, they're like, how did you get so much business experience? How did you learn how to manage people at your age? Because I was running the business, I think, at age 29, 30. So people are like, how do you have so much experience dealing with so many different people? And I always say, it was actually back when I was at STTS underneath RB, because he put me in these situations where I'm in control of 45, 46 people at age 23, 24 years old. And there was nothing was going to get by you or anybody there. I mean, like, you're under a microscope as a student there. Everybody sees everything you do. So everything had to be perfect. And that's actually what made me successful in my business. There was no business school I went to. There was no college. There was no book I ran. It was literally on-the-job training at a 23-year-old age. So now looking back at that, I can appreciate it. At the time, I was just like, man, I wish this guy would just I'm just trying to hide out and be the gray man.
For sure.
But as a good leader, it's knowing how to put your people, how to get them groomed.
That's right.
And if you wouldn't have done that, who knows where I would be today. But that was my story, how I got to meet you. And then once I left STTS, you actually followed me over to 2-3, where I was over there, and then you were the ops soup over there.
That's right.
But at that time, I was the biggest fanboy ever. I mean, I literally mimicked. I really say this to people, like, you were, at that age, you were probably one of the biggest impressions I had in my life as a young NCO. You, and then actually Coop would have been next as my team sergeant. But just because I had so much FaceTime with you every day, I report to you in the morning, I report to you at lunch, I report to you at the end of the day. Everything was to you. So yeah, you were massive in impression on my life. I know you don't like the compliments and all that.
But it's powerful.
But it's
and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I love to see where it went and did.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the beauty of putting your heart and soul into something and then watching it go out and do good things and bring back those fruits.
Yeah, because especially for me as a cross trainee, you know, I had some good leaders in my life, but I never had like combat leaders.
Sure.
Like leaders for not regular Air Force leaders, like leading guys, like a fire team leader, you know? Because I remember like you even had me set up, you're like, why are you calling this element? Call it a fire team. You know, just little things like that. But I never had someone that was just that involved in mentoring me.
You see the world a different way when you spend that much time in combat. I mean, it just really, you do see the world a different way. And then you realize the things that you need to push off, the things that are very important. Like, there's things that you want to get across, but you're like, man, if I got to only pick these things, this is what I need to get instilled in these folks to have them be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember one thing that you were really good about, you'd always talk to me and understand. It was never like, you're a student, you're wrong. And this actually helped me a lot with my guys.
Sure.
I'd be a little bit more patient. I wouldn't just jump to a conclusion, because you might have an instructor go to you and be like, this team messed this up. Then I would just hear, Sergeant Howard, get in here. I'd run in there and I was like, oh man, here it comes. And you'd be like, explain to me what happened. And then I would explain, and maybe we didn't even do anything wrong.
Sure.
And I remember you'd actually say, you'd like, this is why we had these conversations. I'm not just going to jump to a conclusion.
Sure.
And the past year and a half of my life in the pipeline, that was not a conversation I was used to having.
Sure.
It was like, you're just wrong. You're going to get smoked for it.
And you stay away from them and you create this big barrier and it's just a train wreck.
Yeah, but you were establishing that professional development with me to prepare me to deal with my own guys, instead of me just getting mad and yelling. Because I mean, you would do little things like, I think you said to me one time, you were like, who gets the newest piece of equipment on the team? And I think I said something like, well, probably like the fire team leader or something like that. And you're like, no, it's the lowest ranking guy. He gets the newest piece of equipment because he's going to be the one that's going to be using it the most and getting out there. And I was just like, you know, just little things like that.
That's right. It'll tell you a lot when you see people get in line. That's why there's rules. That's why you eat behind your men. Your men eat before you. There's certain things you do, and then when things like that happen, when you start building this lifestyle, that everything comes first on you, and it's just a whole different. Like, it's not a servant leadership no more. It's going to fail. It may be successful for one person, but overall, it's going to do nothing for a team. And I mean, if you're building a team, man, it's about everybody else but you. And when you think like that, that team will always be 100% successful. But when, man, it's like, I got to get mine first, or man, I just need this little bit more, then I can give the team. And it doesn't, because, man, as soon as they see that, they're like, okay, man, I'm going to live that life too. And then try to turn that whole thing around, because you're already fighting that to start with. Because the whole world's been set up for people to do that, to just, I'm here to get mine. I'm here to get my success. I'm here to get this for, and you got to beat that out of people. It's very difficult. But when you do, those people go out and they're very, very successful at the things they do.
That's actually what really, I would say, helped kind of set the foundation for me in the business. Like, I'd always say, cleaners are always the easy target for everyone to complain against. They're the ones that get all the complaints.
Sure.
Oh, this wasn't clean enough, this, and this. But it's kind of like, hey, like, on the kind of totem pole, they're almost like the lowest rank. They're dealing with the hardest job.
Sure.
Everything revolves around them. And you gotta set them up for success. You know, so that's what we would always try to do, is like, even though the lowest guy, we're getting him the most equipment, whatever we can do to make their job easier.
That's right.
If it's buying another vehicle, whatever it is, we're gonna give them every tool they can, because they are doing the most work at the end of the day.
They are.
You know, so that's those little things in those early stages of my life. I didn't realize I was being taught. Yeah, I thought I had it figured out, and I realized I didn't. I was kind of being programmed at that early age. I was learning how to do these things as a junior NCO, so that was really, really impactful.
Sure.
But I'm guessing that you probably had someone like that to talk to you as well.
That's exactly right. So anything that you ever seen happen, I mean, I would even ask them sometimes, like, how do you think I know how to do this? And it would just come out of, like, it had either happened to me, or I seen an event where it had to, that situation would really help. Like, for instance, with y'all carrying one piece, I seen the C-130 come in one time, turn, and everything to unload this aircraft and get it out was just in-op at that point. the only way to unload the C-130 was by hand. And guess what? There happened to be like 3 SF teams that are standing by. I mean, and then of course we're there too. Like, I mean, you're gonna grab a piece of equipment, you're gonna get that shit off there as fast as you can, because that aircraft needs to be gone, but like a long time ago. So you quickly learn how to move things very, very quickly, very, very fast. And if it goes back to traditional ways of how Egyptians did it, it doesn't matter. That tactic at that point is going to be something that's going to save you, and you're going to see it and know it. So, and usually if I wanted to burn something else head, I was going to burn it in there, like it was going to last for a super long time. Yeah, I wanted to make sure if I was going to send a message that y'all was going to keep it for a very long time.
Yeah, you never just spoke just to talk. Like everything you spoke, well, there was a purpose. There was always something. I really appreciate that because your message never got blurred. You know, like it was like, if he's talking, you're gonna listen. You know, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm a leader, let me talk. You know,
Sure.
like how a lot of people do. They just want to, let me piggyback on top of that and say something. You know,
Yeah.
and you never piggyback. Like
No.
you gave out something, and it was just like,
That's right.
and people, I know they respected it because I was actually telling Randy this earlier. I was like, you know how there's a lot of team guys and people like, oh, I love that guy, and the other guy's like, oh, that guy sucks, or you know, he always talks a big game. I never heard that. When people would say,
No,
oh,
you're gonna love me or hate me. Right?
people are just like, oh, I mean, it didn't matter if it was 06 or
Sure.
E4. Like they said their name, so you know that's why I was like, I kind of based off my controller career. I was like, I want to be like RB, you know. So I just kind of like really attached myself to like, this is the strong figure. This is who I think I want to be.
Sure.
You know, and you had something similar. I'm guessing was that Army or controller?
Yeah, I lucked out and I had some really good leaders starting off in the Army. I mean, I just watched some folks come up and I mean, and you know, like you see this one guy, you're like, oh my God, I'm scared to death. Like he's gonna, I remember in the worst, my team got, we had to do a rock march. And I'm telling you, man, like, shit was different back then, man. Like people just don't understand. And usually we started off running like 5 or 6 miles every day. But this day we're gonna do a ruck, and I think we're doing just I don't even think, I think it was just like a 6 miler. And I'm talking worse. There was no joking around. Like the rucks were heavy. Like I mean 125 pounds easy, and you're humping through the Quailoas and stuff in Hawaii. I mean the worst terrain. I mean it's terrible. I mean it is tough. And I'm telling you, out of all the shit I've ever done, even when I went and did Pisgah and all that, I mean, that shit was tough, but I wasn't carrying 125 pounds of shit trying to do this. And I'm not saying it was the smartest shit we were doing, but damn, it was tough. And I mean, it's hard. But we were just doing a 6 mile and we were told, like, your ruck needed to be this weight. And I can't remember what it was. I mean, it wasn't even nothing crazy. I think it was maybe like 55 pounds or something.
Yeah.
And I just always had a way of having my stuff. And we get done with the ruck and we come around and it's like my team's on. He goes, and I mean he was like from Ecuador or something. I mean this dude like he just was interesting. I'll tell you that, man. And he looked at everybody and he said, "Oh, you weigh your ruck?" Someone like, "Yeah, you weigh your ruck." And I was like, "Actually, I didn't weigh mine." And I was like, "No, I didn't weigh my ruck." And I mean. Dude, I was like, okay, man, like, I'm about to have to defend myself here. I mean, like, it's just about to be on, and this dude's gonna whoop my ass. I mean, because, like, I'm like, dude, he's an E6. I think I'm maybe an E4, man. I mean, it was just, like, I learned, and then I go weigh my shit. It's like 60 pounds, but it didn't matter. Like, man, he asked me to do something and told me to do it, and I didn't do it, and I was like, man, like, this is, and that's for real. You know what I mean? Like, you get out on burst and you didn't have something that you, man, like, you're miles out. I mean, like from anything that's going to be close to you. You know what I mean? The enemy's always the closest thing to you, so you're just out there. And I mean, like attention to detail is just so important. So I started learning real quick from folks that when they meant serious, like and the way that they showed me. Yeah. So I kind of learned how to put that on some folks too.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it was that important that they know what I'm trying to teach them at that point.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely did a good job with that, got that message across. So you went from there to Ranger Training Battalion.
That's right. I went to Ranger Training Battalion, went to dive school, went down to Key West. Yeah, that was awesome. And that's from the coolest things.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah, and it was difficult. I mean, there's always the bullshit about it. Oh, God, we'll always hear the NDOC and shit. I'm like, oh, my God. I guess I should have just had to have went to that because people never leave this shit alone. But Hey, you know the cool thing about NDOC is when you graduate that, you have a dive school class, right? So me, in the Army, man, I had to do 3 pre-scubas before I got my shit. So imagine having to just keep going back. Not that you fail, that you just don't have a slot because you're just at the bottom of the totem because all the controllers, they've eaten up all them slots, everybody. Here I am, just a guy that's gonna go make sure that shit's clear before Rangers dive in the swamp. Like, bro, you're at the end of the totem pole, man. Like, because those are war fighters that are going to fight that war right that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you got to look at it and see that it is the right choice. But, I mean, at the same time, like, man, I was getting my ass handed to me. I was like, I don't know, I was like, at one point, I was like, if I don't get this slot on the next one, I don't know, man. Like, am I going to go again? Like, I mean, it ain't like they were like, yeah, he showed that he's good. Like, but it wasn't like that at SCTS either, right? Man, you're going to go, you got to do the damn standard no matter what. Like, you got to do it.
Yeah, it's a lot of pre-dive, pre-scubas.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. I had to do 2, not because of my fault, but I had to go to ALS. And then they're like, oh, we need an NCO for this class. There's no NCO. And I was like, do I have to? And they were kind of like, yeah, you don't really have an option.
That's the thing you get caught in. That's one thing we couldn't fight. And I wouldn't stop that anyway because to me, nothing's more important than, man, like, you've got to get recognized as moving in that position, moving into leadership, and if this is a block you got to check. Even though that I do believe that really should be controlled by some kind of special warriors. Like, where are we at now? We had special tactics warfare. Like, they should own that leadership school. They should really own it instead of you going to the. I mean, because that's just. There's nothing that's really happening for that guy to mentor him. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's just not very, not for combat.
So from dive school, that's when you crossed over?
Yeah, so
CCT?
So the true story, so that there can be no confusion, is I came down on levee for 82nd Airborne. But I'd already been talking to Rod Childers, so, man, this is just kind of like where, man, like, you don't ever want to abuse a system or do it, but you're kind of like, well, I know where I'm going. And I could have got caught in this situation, and it was very difficult because, I mean, this is when you're going to throw everything on the table and make a run and see if it works. Because I could have came up short, for sure. But we decided, we're going to transfer to the Air Force. So I turned down my levee orders to go to Fort Bragg. I don't know what they call it now. I'm not playing that game. So I'm not
call it Fort Bragg. Yeah.
I'm not joining that. So whatever it is, what it is. But I turned them down. By turning them down, I get denied re-enlistment. So I have to be forced out.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, this is great. I'm going to the Air Force. So you're helping me because I would have had to stay. Maybe it was going to be 13 more months or something, but now I'm going to be out in like 3 to 5 months. So I'm like, okay, sweet. So then I get out, and then I'm now heading into the Air Force, and I'm in the Air Force within 4 months of getting out. But it's a scary time. I had 2 children, I had my wife. Man, that woman, if it ain't for her, man, she holds it all together, man. That woman, she is a saint walking the earth, man, no doubt about it.
And been with her since high school, right?
Oh my God, yeah. We've been 32 years now. Man, like, I've been with her more than anyone else on the face of this earth. You know what I mean? So, like, she is my soulmate. Like, she's everything. So there's no doubt about it. That is. Like, we're gonna finish this thing together. At least I should hope so.
Oh yeah.
She may have another place, but she's somewhere else right now. Wow, I didn't see that one coming.
No, she's awesome.
She's a trooper, man. She's very, very powerful. Very powerful. But yeah, so you throw your card. I mean, like, because all of our ID cards have to get turned. We're like, oh shit! Like, we're like. The kids, they get hurt, we don't have nothing. Like, we're just, man, as soon as you get out, man, that switch is off, you know what I mean? You really, but I had gained the system as much as I could for understanding, like, where I thought I was going. And there's always some people in the background making some stuff happen. I think it was Senior Master Sergeant Leary. You know how y'all had somebody to manage y'all, like, somewhere through the pipeline that would overwatch and kind of be this guy's. As long as I gave him everything I've ever done in the military, went to him, and I gave that other same package to the recruiter, and from there that was it. Boom! It hit the system because it was coming from 2 different ways to, like, headquarters, Air Force. So I mean, it was coming in from this fast channel from Special Operations. The recruiter taking their sweet ass time getting it up in there, But still, I think I was setting a record. I think it was within 4 months.
Wow.
So it was quick.
Yeah.
It was quick.
Yeah. So knocked out pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
You were already at 2-3 when the towers went down.
Yeah. So I had graduated. Shoot, man. Yep. So I graduated CCS in '99. I came back. I think maybe got one Columbia trip, which was like 5 months. It was awesome. It was cool because I got to go down and be a combat controller, which was really cool. I wish it could have been better. That's when you get hooked up with sort of leaderships when you see them. You're like, my God, what if I would have just had this person? So I'm always, because you're like, man, you only have so much time, and what you're gonna do with that time. So I mean, you could sit around and watch movies, bullshit and stuff, or you could just become this like really good at what you're doing. And I wish that one would have been a little bit, but it was cool because then I realized no matter where you're at in life, you're gonna see things that if you're in a bad situation, there's somewhere quickly you can shift fire and get to it right away. So I jumped over to an SF team, so I was down with an SF team and just attached myself to them. And that really wasn't my purpose on this mission. I was just like, well, I'm just gonna go run and attach myself to it. I did whatever they were doing. They could be out teaching or doing something. I didn't care. I'll be out here teaching with them. Not really, but I'll support them. Can I hand you something? Can I do something? But as long as I can be there, observing, watching, seeing how these people operate, peeling that onion back. Because you'll see good leaders out there. You'll see some that really mess some things up, and you're just like, okay, man, thank you for that too, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy. I want to go ahead and learn from that mistake I just watched play out. That was.
So when did you, I guess, how was it back then going to JTAC? Was that something you did early as a controller?
So I knew that was going to come. So where am I at here? So I'm not a JTAC yet. So the towers get hit. I'm not a JTAC. And I know that's when it gets confusing. Because, man, they're putting their teams together. They're trying to figure out. I just spent 5 months down in Columbia. Bohr is the DO. I think he knocked that out of the park, man. Dude, he's just built for it, man. He's just built to, calculate this machine that he's gonna shove into the face of the enemy. So he's just pretty good at that. But man, it hurt too because I wasn't on the list, and I'm like, man, I didn't make varsity. I'm like, this sucks. You know what I mean? You live a life of that. But then at the time, I had spent 5 months in Columbia. I was more looking down there. They needed another rotation down for 2 weeks. And they're like, who do you send? I was like, shit. I mean, if you get Rob, you just send him to language school. So I'm going there. Everyone's kicking off, going over to OIF. Going to Afghanistan on the early flight out. So I don't catch up with them. I go down to Columbia, come back, and then now I'm going over. But it's like, what am I even going over as? Because we didn't even know survey team. We couldn't really figure out what the hell we're going to do over there at first. This was new. When we went into OIF, man, we knew exactly what we were doing. We knew exactly how we were going to do everything. For the most part, some tactics we changed a little bit. But so I went over, and that was man. There's so much on that deployment. We could peel back the onion forever on that.
Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying the show. I'm gonna start selling my prints with all profits going to charity. This is the way I wanted to give back because as much as I appreciate you donating money without getting anything in return, I wanted to give you something in return. So my website will be up soon, johnhowardart.com. And or if you donate to the charity directly, I will also give you the print. There's a lot of different photos you can pick out, different sizes, canvas, prints, whatever you want. All the profits will be going to charity to Surf Brigade or First Air Foundation and any other good local charities I can think of. So thank you. Okay, so back from a technical error break at the same time. So unfortunately, I think we lost a lot of the audio. We're gonna go back and see if we got it. If we do, it's probably a little bit weak just because the camera was so far away, but not to go replay. I think it was about 20 minutes or something like that, but I think we were kind of ending on some leadership stuff. We briefly talked about how you went from Army over to Air Force, went to the 2-3, went down to Columbia, did a little rotation there. 9/11 happened, got sent over to OEF, and you weren't a JTAC at the time, so you were up in the gunship. Operation Anaconda, you were out there I'll just kind of let you take it from there again, but really powerful message.
Yep. So, yeah, when the war kicked off, I was not a JTAC at the time. Spent more time down in Columbia at that point. So I came over, and I was not a JTAC. And so, yeah, it's what do you do with this guy? And man, I'm actually so thrown out of the rotation by not leaving with my folks because you got with us, you had folks in Uzbekistan, and I can't think where the other were. I mean, scattered all over the place. But I actually come in, and I'm first attached to the 21st STS first. So I meet up with them, and I'm with them in Kandahar. And it's like, what do you do with these guys that aren't JTAC? So man, and STS had made a lot of mistakes right before this, man. Like, oh my God, man. Like, I had a commander that had just made the decision that we go to 10% JTAGs. 10% JTAGs. So like we were just cutting the that whole program. I mean, then planes hit the towers, and man, like you couldn't get a JTAC quick enough, man. It just wasn't happening. So on my first rotation, I'm over the 21st and just doing man, whatever like that pops up. So air traffic control was really where we were earning our dollars right there at first, or earning our pay. I work in the Kandahar Tower, and then I know me and Chris Bowser took off to go out and do Koust. We was out there on a play, and that's what we were doing, air traffic, just running an airfield. Pretty good stuff. But Anaconda was kicking up, and it was kicking off, and they knew they needed somebody in the gunship. The gunship would be showing up every night, and the guys on the ground would just it was just a breakdown at first, because this is our first war. We're not, we don't really have our TTPs worked out that much. So they needed somebody. So I went to Masira, which was actually where Desert Storm had kicked out of. Wait, let me try this again. No, Desert One. Sorry about that. Desert One had launched out of there. So I'm in Masira. It's actually pretty cool. But I'm there, and I'm flying out of the gunship, and I'm flying this time. Like I mentioned earlier, I had flown more time. I was in the air more than I was on the ground. I'd be 13-hour flights, and I'd come back. Crews would switch out, and then I would be on all the nights, and I would take off. So I flew every night. I had more combat hours in the gunship at that point than most of the crews did, which was interesting. Just goes to show how much I was getting up there and flying. It didn't take them long to catch up, but definitely I was getting that wartime. But one of the most impactful, and we were talking before we got cut off on that video, was I'm up there one night, and there's an 82nd guy on the ground, and I mean he's in distress. You can tell. I mean he's beat up pretty bad down there. I mean he can just hear he's scared. And like I said before, like I'm up in the gunship. I'm not, I hadn't even felt what it is to be down in that yet. I hadn't had that yet. That was yet to come. But I could tell in his voice he wasn't doing well, and he was calling for that gunship to come in and hit his target. And well, I mean, we had shot many nights, but something just wasn't right on this one. And man, they're firing up the solution, getting ready to go. And man, I can look down there and I just see something that's not right, man. It's sticking out, man. I've been to Ranger School. I'm like, man, what? This is not right. And I'm like, I grabbed the FOCO, man, and he's getting ready. I mean, we're there. Like, they're getting ready to squeeze it off. And I'm like, hang on. I'm like, something is not right. I give him the squeeze. I'm like, dude, something is not right. And he's like, man, like, this is game time. This is it. And I'm like, put the burn down. And he's like, man, we don't do that, man. Like, we're going to give away our position. I'm like, put it down. He puts it down, man, and this is our dudes, man. So I'd never seen nothing like that before that or after that. But we were going to kill them that night. I mean, it was going to be bad. And man, that's just war. Things happen. But if one thing I ever felt like my whole purpose being in that gunship that whole time was that was the most important thing I had ever done in that gunship. Because man, you look down and it was glint everywhere. Like they lit up, and man, like we were about and. I'm telling you, it was about to be squeezed off.
How many guys were we talking about, friendlies that were down there?
At least 30. And man, and then, yeah, I'm just seeing like a perfect perimeter. And I'm like, man, is this, and I'm learning, I'm like, is this the enemy I'm going to fight? Are they really this skilled? Like they're set up like this? And that's not how they fought, man. They just didn't, they weren't that well organized. So man, it sent off an indicator, and something told me, man, it's like, you never know what impacts you're gonna have in certain missions or where you're at, like why that person's there. But it was everything that I had learned my whole life, because you put the wrong guy in there, man, he's just ready to see the shooting. Because dude, I was ready to see the shooting a lot of times. I'm like, man, let's go, man. That's what we're here for. Quicker we get this done, man, we can get to go home and our kids don't have to deal with this stuff. But that's not the case. We're gonna draw that one out for sure. But that would be my most impactful. I finished out that deployment basically doing survey type stuff, and working air traffic control, and then I realized it was time to get back. I was with the 2-1, then the 2-1 had went home. The 2-2 came in. I was with them for a while, and man, they wanted me to even stay again. I'm like, man, it's been 5 months. I'm like, if I don't get back with my squadron, I'm never gonna get synced back up with them and get on their timeline. But it didn't matter anyway. I had aspirations to go other places, so I would deploy again with 2-3, but it wouldn't be. It would be basically in preparation to be heading up to the 2-4.
So after that deployment, that's when you assessed for the 2-4?
I tried to get back, and I tried to make it, and man, there's just some smart guys up there that really know. Stanbro was the guy that did all the recruiting at the time, and he's just like, he wanted to get me. He had me, man. Man, that guy was just awesome. Like, he was really, if anybody ever knew how to recruit people for that place, man, like, nobody was as good as him. Like, he'd call and he's like, yeah, man, I ain't even really called to talk to you. Put the wife on. And dude, he would just start talking to the wife. Now, I mean, hopefully it was no, but I mean, he knew what it was going to take to be at a place like that. And it was going to be a strong family, or he just needed to give me an honest thing and be like, don't even bring her. Like, it's just like, you better have the right one to go up there and deal with that situation, because, man, it really is. Your spouse is everything and should always be everything, man. And that is, it really is. But you can't go to this level and it really isn't, because it's the national mission. It's, man, like, this is what you're asked to do. Like, when that beeper goes off, that is everything. But trust us that we'll have all that part taken care of for you. And they do a pretty good job of that, or at least they did before. We were really good at that at one point. I'm not sure where that stands today. But.
So that's where, did you do your JTAC there?
No. So I did my JTAC. I came back from that deployment, immediately went out and went to Vegas, and went to.
Because now they're ramping up, getting all the
That's right.
JTACs.
They needed it, and I was pretty much in line, so I started to train up, and we had a couple people that would start getting assessed, and then they would just push us out as soon as the slot's available. And who was the best, at the time on the mic? I mean, everything's competition, but I mean, it wasn't, nothing crazy, but I mean, it was like, man, if your shit is tight, that's who we want to send and get out there. I'm not saying I was the greatest, but then I wasn't the worst. I mean, I was just, learning just like everyone else, trying to figure it all out. And my time came. So, I mean, it came really quick. And then as soon as I got my JTAC, I was over to Djibouti. I was over in the Horn of Africa on a rotation over there. And that was another 5-monther I was pulling over there, which was pretty cool. That was the first time I really I was attached to an SF team. It was cool. A SIF. Yeah, so it was kind of cool. But at the same time, I'm watching Iraq kick off from Djibouti while I'm stuck there. So it was just and it's just kind of like, where do I want to go in life? Is that more important than, me going to assess? So as soon as I finished this one, I was going to assessment. And that was in 2003.
2003.
2003 is when I went. I had assessed and then went to,
Yeah. So I know you got a lot of combat time when you're up there at the 2-4. You rolled with CAG.
I did.
You rolled with Devgru, right? You rolled with Devgru too.
Oh yeah, I sure did. So
yeah,
my first rotation was with the Army. So yeah, went up there. I mean, you're
before you get into that, just for the audience,
yeah.
Can you explain like what your job as a CCT is with like the Army at that national mission level?
So I guess it just depends what the mission. I mean, man, like your communications, your the air interface between the air and the ground. You're gonna handle every bit of that. They're not gonna talk. I mean, maybe every now and then you'll get the OIC, which is the officer in charge with the Army, that's on target. I mean, they may be talking to one aircraft up there that doesn't have any ordnance or anything, and it's just like kind of maybe give them a little ISR, maybe. But for the most part, you have that entire stack that's going to be above you, which is totally different. And I don't. How do you determine the two? Like, well, wait, what is the right way? We say the national mission and the what did we say? What do we say for I don't, but I'm doing the national mission, so it's a little bit different than the folks doing the. Man, it ain't a conventional mission, but it just your normal. So
National mission meaning presidential.
that's right.
Yeah.
So like, man, you're doing his bidding. So however he is running the show and doing it, like, man, when he picks up the phone and that's what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
You're going to be handling that business. So when you go with that team, let's just say that let's just do a numbers thing. You got 30 guys that you're going to run out the door with. You're going to handle whatever it is to do with communication with them. You're going to handle anything that's going to be talking to aircraft, understanding aircraft, what they're going to have, what they're going to deliver, what they're going to. And man, it can be very difficult sometimes because sometimes you have more knowledge than they do and you're trying to share it. And man, it can get egos and personalities, and man, it can get really interesting sometimes. So it gets difficult. But man, you're there for anything that's going to do with communication, and you're expected to shoot and shoot well. If you don't, man, they're not gonna. You just can't hang around. They just can't have it. But yeah, so first rotation with them, and it wasn't the best rotation, man, because like, man, but I tell you what, that was my first go at being in it, man, and like you're in it, like I mean, and then you're just like, damn, I can't even believe I made it here. So I'm up at this level. Okay, got it. Yeah, okay, I'm here. Okay, now I'm training with these dudes. Yep, got it. Now I just pulled alert with them, but now I'm out the door and we're in combat together, man. And I mean, it's just like, you're like, holy shit, this is it. And I mean, it's just business, man. I mean, that machine runs, man, it's just hard. It's like watching, kiddie football and then watching the NFL, the speed, I mean, how fast. I mean, I just couldn't. The first mission we do, man, it's a fast rope in, and it's just an offset. So I mean, well, not considered, but I'm sorry, we'll call it without getting. Yeah, we just maybe within 300 meters of the, even closer. So it's going to be a fast rope, and then you're going to the target, man. And like in my mind, okay, yeah, we kind of did this, but we're kind of, what's this 7-8 infantry tactics? We're going to play, bro. When you come down that fast rope, it's 100%, man. Running as fast as you can to that target. That target, man, by the time I get to the threshold, they're already calling target secure, man. I mean, that shit is fast. And anything that's in the way is gone, man. I mean, like, but I'll tell you what, man, if you ain't got a gun and you don't threaten nobody, man, how would I describe them? I would describe them as they serve national warrants is what they do, because man, they're going to bring you in. They want you. They're going to bring you to somebody that's going to ask you questions and you're going to answer them. So they're going to get you there. Will they kill you if you do? Yeah, absolutely, 100% all day long. But they won't if you don't resist, right? So it depends what kind of person wants to be on the other end of their that mission that's coming at them. So
mission, a lot of just high value targets.
that's exactly what I would classify it as. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how. I mean, you'll go in by an automobile, you'll go in by a helicopter, it doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter. You're going to. I mean, these people solve problems at the highest level every day. They're like, okay, the person's where. I mean, they already have that place broke down. They know how to get inside it. They know which way they're going to come. I mean, are they going to hit it from both sides? Are they going to hit it with this aircraft, a ground vehicle? I mean, like, it is. There's nothing. If they're coming for you, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing. There's no way you prepare for that ever. If that is coming for you, there's just good luck, man. Because I even think about it. I'm like, man, I ran with them. I'm like, how would I stop? I'm like, well, really, it just ain't gonna happen. Just ain't gonna happen.
It's in and out fast, right?
It's just, man. And it's at 100 miles an hour, man. Like, it just is so fast, because when you think you're fast, you just aren't fast until you see it, man. And you're just like, man, and it doesn't matter what obstacle is in the way. It just doesn't matter. They just don't stop. It's like watching a German Shepherd or a Belgian just take off after something. It doesn't matter what's in the way. They don't even see it as an obstacle. They just see it as fun to get to where they're going. And I mean, like, I've seen them climb walls. I've seen them like, I'm just like, how in the hell did they? I mean, a billy goat can't get up this shit this fast, but it doesn't matter. I mean, and it's just 100% the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a an interesting world. And when you try to come and bring it and describe it to folks and say, nothing really. And I'm like, man, it really is that. I mean, it really is. I mean, I don't think you'd ever know if you took it because you're just at 100% the whole time running. I mean, it's just, I'm not saying once the target's secure, then it's not like, okay, man, it's SSE. Like, we're going to go look for shit now. And it's kind of like, but there's still no chill, especially for the controller. He's up on the rooftop talking to every aircraft. I mean, you got to have the plan down, man. Like, okay, good. Yep, that's taken down. How are we getting out of here? Where are we going? Which way the wind's coming from? You know, how are we getting out of here? So,
So
you gotta figure all that out.
as the CCT on the team, were you doing a lot of airstrikes with it, or was it a lot more precision?
Yeah, so it depends what situation you get into. It is almost hard to get in a bad situation, but man, they just happen. We're problem solvers, right? But man, most times when you're going, I mean, it's violence that happens within like 30 seconds and it's over. And I would say almost even faster than that, man, because as you're sweeping through, it's just, man, if it presents itself. And to describe this, to be a controller, or if you're in the headquarters section, so let's say that you're the officer that's of the dev group or the SEAL team or whatever that's in the middle, I'm in the middle with them, you got like 30 dudes completely surrounding you, and they don't miss. They don't miss. They don't miss. They just, that's not a thing. So they don't miss. And then this machine is kind of moving, even though it's a bunch of people, but it's almost like this thing that has its own energy and I mean, like it just eliminates anything that gets in its way. And I mean, it's pretty massive. But then sometimes it meets a little resistance, and that's where the controller comes in. And when it looks bad, I mean, things start falling from the sky and cleans it up real fast, and then gives us that tactical advantage for them to maneuver. But they don't need much, man. They just need a little edge. If you get them down something, man, they're already figuring a way to outsmart this thing and get around it. And they have every weapon system you can think of, man. I mean, like it's just there. And they're just clever. They're clever.
How many rotations did you do with CAG?
3.
Yeah. How long do y'all go out for? Is it like
So it changed. So the George cycle had changed. At first it was 90 days, and then we went to a longer 120 day or something, which actually did work out better because, man, there at first it was really crazy. You're burning the candle from both ends. I was deployed when we were on the 90 day. I was deployed twice in a year time. So like, and then it's like, if you just knew how the machine worked, to be deployed, that means that you were with somebody. That means that you're on alert also. So it was not unheard of for us to be 275 plus days away from the family. Like it was very, very difficult. I mean, you would find ways to fix that. The good thing is if you were at the Army, you were home, so you got to spend. When you were with the Navy, you were up in Virginia Beach, but they had apartments for us. And man, I would just have my wife up there as much as I can. Like, who cares about who cares about that shit, man? Like, we're trying to build this family. Like, we got to have time together.
Yeah.
So.
When you're with the Army, I'm guessing going out almost nightly,
Oh,
like every day.
every night. So there was a point where I was like, holy shit, how do we sustain this? And so here I'm going to share something with you that had really changed and why I feel like I was there during some of the best time that you could ever be there, ever, ever, ever. Because right before, so my first deployment's 2005, and that when things had changed here that had just changed the battlefield. So before that, even when you go back to Afghanistan, every hit that you had ever done usually came from some kind of human intelligence, right? And man, run the statistics on that, man, like 40% success rate. I mean, it was just shit. It was shit. I'm not saying what they were doing. I mean, it was all valid. I mean, like it was all, they did awesome what they were doing, but man, you're running out on information that just is not what you really, it's just not good. It just really wasn't. It just really wasn't. Then we had a switch where signal information had changed the face of the world, and we all know it now because everyone kind of carries certain things around with them. So we went from like 30 to 40% success rate on my first rotation with the Army. It was their first rotation with this new intelligence. 100% success rate. We were jackpot every night, man. And I mean, these dudes, they and they fed off of it, man. They're like this, and I did too, man. I remember calling home to my wife and like, I'm making a difference. Like, because when you're jackpot every night, that means every dude on the list is coming off. And I mean, we're sweeping them. We're killing them. They can't figure it out. They can't figure out how we're getting them. I mean, we're crushing them. I did 6 hits in one night. 6 hits, 3 halves and 3 gaffs in one night. Man, you talking about hitting targets, man, unbelievable, man. We were running crazy. So when you did get down was when a sandstorm came in. I mean, you were just so happy when a sandstorm came in because the body needs a break at some point. I'm not saying that you couldn't just try to, but you're there for 90 days and you're hitting it that hard every night. Like, this ain't like you're sitting around waiting for something. I mean, like, every night you're going at it. So when a sandstorm came in, you would at least be down for 2, maybe 3 days, and that was a good time. And then, man, it was everybody recharged the batteries, and then, man, you're back at it and just hitting them hard. But I mean, 2, 3 targets a night was ops tempo normal.
And that was 2 or 3 dudes you were taking off that list every
night,
time.
every night. Yep. If they popped, we went and got them. And I mean, and I had a commander, man. He was the commander of Delta Force. I mean, me and him, we just didn't get along, man. Like, just that guy, Colonel Irwin. Oh my God, man! Like, he probably just something else. But I'm in a bad position because I'm there and we have technology that I'm trying to explain to them, but they want to use their organic assets, and I'm like, man, and here I am. This guy's a colonel at Delta Force, and I'm maybe at the time maybe a master, but I'm probably I'm probably a master, maybe a tech sergeant, and I'm trying to explain to them, like, we have this sensor that's in the front of an aircraft now that's never been there. So the first time it was the F-18 that it came into. Never before could you talk to a fixed-wing aircraft like you could a gunship. So things were changing, and we could do things, and TTPs were changing. And, man, trying to convince them, we got this thing. And one of the worst things I ever did, which was kind of, I mean, we had the number 1 guy, we had him. And we have him. Like, he's in his car. But that aircraft that they used came out of tolerance and the ball spun. And they couldn't get him back. And, man, we lost the number 1 dude, AMZ at the time, man. It was bad. It was bad. And had been begging, man. I'm like, please. And I got to, you know how we always have a fires guy? Like, there's somebody that's running the show, and like when you call back, instead of calling back and talking to somebody that's like some TAC P from the 60s or something, like it's like your dude, you're like, oh my, so my dude is like the head dude that's there in Iraq, and like he can give me anything I want, and man, I'm getting denied by my own people, and I'm just like, what the? So, man, sometimes there's some interesting things that you'll see in combat that's just like, man, just strange, and they'll sit on you. Mm-hmm. So that was always an interesting one. So that didn't go well. We butted heads for that. Matter of fact, I had left that deployment. He was like, I'd seen enough of you, so I left. I was immediately over in Afghanistan, and then hooked up with the Navy, and then did finished rotation with them, but just kind of like not as their, like, I was just kind of like learning to be with them. And then I went and pulled a rotation with them, and then went 2 back-to-backs deployments with them.
Wow.
To OEF and then OIF, yeah. And we actually did one of the first cross-border mission. I think we were the first at the time, and it was pretty cool. Did it with the SEALs. I set a whole deployment. We didn't do much. That's when I'm saying, like, some deployments could be weird, and then some you're running at 100 miles an hour. But Afghanistan was just in a weird pause at that point. But then we did do a really cool mission that was, at the time, before Osama bin Laden. That was probably the coolest mission that at least that I know about.
So the Navy, when you're with them, that was not the national mission.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it is.
Oh,
yeah.
it still was.
Yeah. As long as you're with one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
So when we break them down, I mean, I don't even know how to call them anymore. But we can just say CAG and Devgru, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll move back and forth and probably cross-reference some shit, and which is totally not allowed. But man,
so same mission style, just raids, high-value targets.
Yeah. And then you're just gonna change mission sets, because now the SEALs did, man. They just jumped on board and started learning how to do shit on land, and Yeah, I mean, they'll hit a target just the same. I mean, not just the same. I mean, I think the Army was way ahead of them in that aspect at first, and I think it would be wrong for but it doesn't matter. We see things as controllers because one day I'm with them, one day I'm with them, and I'm watching, and man, I came from the Army. I'm gonna be a little biased on tactics, but I'm like, you know, 7 dash, I know how, or 7-8, I know how this should kind of be in a certain way, and like it was written in people's blood. This is how people survive. We're not just pulling out some weird stuff and trying that, but you would see the differences between the two. But the Navy, man, the Navy was not up to speed, I don't think, right off the bat. But they came fast. And they did. And I would say Admiral McCraven, man, took them and put them on the map. That dude, like if they don't owe, they owe that dude everything because man, like he came in and he got them to certain missions and got them to certain sets and just kind of moved them and leveled them up, you know, and they did well. They succeeded at those missions. Because if they would have failed at them, it just would not have been well for them. But so hitting targets with either one of them on land is not too different. But I'll tell you, the hardest mission you'll ever do will be with the Navy. That is just by far by nature because we know how dive school was, and you start messing with the water. You go do some command underways, and that's just real man shit right there. I mean, that is just, it don't get no realer than that. Because even the realest people that do it, man, like they'll be like, okay, man, I'm gonna make sure my shit's tight before this goes off. Man, I'm gonna make sure my pull-ups are good. I'm gonna make sure, because you start climbing up them ships, man, it can get interesting real fast. And this thing, and like they do it hard. I mean, like you'll have chased this boat down for, man, hours. You're smoked. You can barely hold on to the boat that you're on. I mean, you're in the worst conditions you could ever be in. I mean, that's why it is and the spot they pick when it goes down. I mean, it is just rough shit. I mean, there's some crazy stories on that stuff, but that hands down, they will always deserve that credit because that is just a brutal ass mission.
So y'all are getting high value targets off ships.
So if you go, that is a mission set, but no, they mostly when you were with them overseas, they were doing battling on the land, just the same as the Army was doing, and hitting missions the exact same. They were just handling. The only difference that you really think about them once they were running on full, a lot of cool things happened too. I got to actually be my first rotation that when I was with the Army. I think it was Admiral McCraven that had done it, but he had made them do like a I don't know, an internship. So one team from the Army had to go to the Navy, one from the Navy had to go to the Army. So I'm over doing combat with the Navy, and they sent a good team. I mean, they didn't screw around with this. They sent, and it would be the squadron that I'd be attached to. So no matter what, when I was with the Navy, I was always with that same team. And if the Army, I was always with that same team. It's just how we lined up. Well, they had sent one of their best folks from the Navy and brought it over to the Army, and vice versa, pretty much did the same thing. But I'm on that rotation, and that Navy dude learned so much. And he was so smart and such that guy, man, when he came, I mean, he wrote it all down. But then they had some cool shit. Like back in the day, fast ropes, like you would go up and there would be this strap that you'd call for ropes. You'd undo the strap, throw it. It would get tangled on every shit. The rope would get screwed up all the way down. It was just a train wreck, but it was what it was. Dude, the Navy had it like in a bag. So, man, you just kicked the damn bag out and the bag went down and, man, it's the coolest shit ever. Dude, the Army picked that bitch up right away. So when they started working how they should have been, as this joint thing that works together instead of I stay over here and play with my toys, you play with your toys, different mission sets, different egos, blah, blah. Man, once they started coming together, like it's not the branch of service, it's these people. And they just have these capabilities. And I mean, you take their unit, set all that shit aside, then you just get these people to get together, man, dude, they can solve some damn problems. And it's just awesome. They see it and they're like, no, there's a better way. And they're always trying to, and then once they do it, they're like, okay, we did it. Now let's do it faster. Now let's do it faster. Now let's do it with more gear on. Let's do it with more. And then it's impressive.
Were y'all doing any hostage rescues at that level?
Yeah, there was, always. There's definitely something going on there. But for me, I have never been on, yes, I have, but we didn't know it. We rescued some dudes and we just didn't know it. Somebody had them, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is pretty cool." But no, not that we were going out to do that. But they were happening around us, and it's just the luck of the draw sometimes. Like sometimes you could be on. We used to love the vehicle interdiction. I mean, because that was the funnest mission that you could ever be on. All you do is stand by, get on a helicopter when it's time, and go hit that target. And you don't have to play none of the other games. That's your sole job. So you don't have to go out and stay out overnight. You don't have to go like chase this down. I mean, no, you just boom, hit. It was a great mission. I mean, but everyone's just in these different locations when you deploy. So, and they could just be like, it's no different than kind of just around here. You could have Niceville, Fort Walton Beach. You could have like 30A. You could have just different and they're all there. And then I mean, we'll see each other at some point, or get together and do a bigger mission. Because sometimes we're like, all right, man, we're gonna smack this one. We're all gonna link up and then hit this one together. That would be like maybe up at the Funiac or something. You know what I mean? Like meet up. Yeah. So, but yeah, but I didn't do hostage rescue. We were trained to it, but that was never.
So you did Afghanistan and Iraq, both sides, Army and Navy?
That's correct.
Or was Navy?
Oh, you know what? I never did the Afghanistan with the Army.
Never did that?
Because the Army got out of there pretty quick. They were pretty smart about that. But then it came, well, then, yeah. I mean, I guess that would be the reason why they probably didn't get the big mission.
Navy, Afghanistan, Army, Iraq.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Army, and that's kind of how they had broken it up, but Navy would still pull rotations in Iraq because it was just that much more going on at the time.
And I'm guessing your role as the JTAC was changing between the two differently?
A little bit. So the Navy was hard at first. Oh man, they were tough, man, because you had to be the SATCOM guy and the JTAC. I mean, it's almost virtually impossible. People will be like, "Oh, I did it," and I'm like, "Okay, let's peel back the onion. You weren't doing shit. You were doing the human stuff, and we already know it wasn't nothing like you did." So I'm not trying to, but I'm just like to take away too much. But man, when you're like no shit in a serious situation, you got a RAWs built up, and man, you're trying to okay, I got this guy at this altitude, this guy at this. Oh, somebody wants to talk on SATCOM from headquarters. What does this guy want? Oh, he wants to be the commander on the ground because he can't get it. Just nothing good comes from that shit. You know what I mean? I mean, it can just. I'm not saying it don't, but it's very frustrating. You either trust your ground force commander, you tell him when he steps out, and he is the ground force commander, he is on the ground, he is the man in charge. But later on, like, man, as roles of engagement change, you'll have whoever's in the back that has the brass thinks that he's running his little, man, that's how people get hurt really fast. So I pretty much got out of there before most of that happened. I know a lot of people had to suffer through that, and it's just a damn shame is what that is.
Mm-hmm. So when you would go back from those deployments, you go back to your team, the 2-4. At this point, is that when you kind of became team sergeant? Like, what point did you come?
Yeah, I mean,
because you built a really incredible team there.
It took me a little bit to. I had a couple rotations. I mean, I had to get corrected and figure some things out and figure out how that world worked. It was a little bit different. Man, and I don't know, man. It's a world that sometimes I don't want to operate. I just want to be with the people and talk. But somebody, well, I had done this, so I need this. And I'm like, oh my God, man. Like, can we just get all that shit out of the room and just solve problems? But you can't sometimes. Mm-hmm. That shit is, I don't know. It can get a little interesting. But for... Probably it took me about a couple rotations. Let's see, when I showed up, I think somebody was just leaving as a team sergeant. Then it was Dean Thompson came in, and then I think it was Dave Drake after that. Then it was Charlie McCarney, then it was me. Yeah, so, Charlie. But I mean, they were turning quick because, man, shit just moves fast up there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd like to try to keep your team sergeants around a little bit longer, but it just depends. I mean, sometimes they do. But it just depends. There was a lot of weird ones. I saw a lot of weird things. There was, I see folks like as the war kicked off, a lot of folks were leaving things when I thought they should have been running to things. So I mean, I've seen a lot of interesting stuff over the time. Mm-hmm.
How many years did you spend up there at the 2-4?
Just under 8.
8 years.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that many missions, you're going out, like you said, 2-3 times a night. And you're just hit after hit after hit. How are you taking care of yourself physically and mentally during that time? Because you're probably not getting gym time, a lot of FaceTime with the wifey.
Yeah, that didn't exist back then. There was no, but we're always gonna have the best whatever it is at the time, but we had phones that we could call back at the time. It wasn't until later, like I left in 2010, and I think they started like right before that. They had VTCs, and you could go in and you get like maybe 15 minutes. You could talk to your spouse like maybe twice a whole deployment or something. So, but none of that stuff existed back then.
Yeah.
It was just, man, it was change of command when you deployed. Like, woman, you got it. You're in charge. You got this whole show. And man, what a shit show we throw on them, man. Because then we just run down. And it's like, I mean, it's kind of almost selfish, man. It's almost like the NFL just going out and playing football games all day or something, not going home, take care of the responsibility. You know what I mean? Because I mean, we're just running and gunning at I mean, it's some of the best shit you'll ever do. You know what I mean? And you're in your prime. You're running. I mean, you're the best. You're at the highest level there is. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's cool. But then, I mean, you wear your family out by not being there. You know. But I mean,
No, you gotta have a strong wife to
you do,
to do it.
man. It really is, man. If that's one thing you could ever pass to the guy, man, is like, man, if you get one thing right, man, that's the one. That's the one. It'll save so much time.
Yeah.
So much time. Yeah.
No, you really pushed that. One thing I really liked about you was, unfortunately, there's a lot of married guys in the career field, and the moral compass is not always that great.
Sure.
And you were always really big on making sure the guys had a good moral compass,
Oh man, you try.
taking care of the families. I think you even told me one time you built your team to try to get just married dudes on it, just to keep things aligned with the same sight picture.
For sure. You want a guy. I mean, because if he's out chasing tail every night, man, he's focused on something else, and man, rightfully so, man. I mean, like, I'm not telling him not to be, but when we come to this level, like, I'm like, get that shit worked out down at the lower level. You know what I mean? Spend that time down at your regular STs and stuff when you're going to step up here. But that's not really how life works. You know what I mean? Like, you get what you get when you get, and man, like, it's challenging and it's difficult on spouses to deal with any of this shit, any of it, at whatever level you're at. You know, because you're already dealing with somebody that's. Think about an operator when you break them down. I mean, like, their egos, their everything that's going on with them. I mean, because like, man, you got to get the most out of this person. You're trying to draw this person to be their best ever at everything that they're doing. So I mean, that shit's gonna bleed off at some point. So trying to get all that balanced, and then try to have him pick the right woman too at the same time, man. God, man, it's just tough. But man, it's such a time saver, such a time saver. And like, when you realize at the end, like, what's really super important, man. I mean, you just got to go spend time with people that aren't going to be here much longer. You know what I mean? Like, you spend a little bit of time with them, you'll kind of find out what's super important and what's around you at that point, and you're like, well, shit, ain't a whole lot of stuff around us right now. So you start realizing the things that are super important.
Yeah.
But people will always be that.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, absolutely. So 3 deployments with Army, 3 with Navy.
Yep.
That's a lot of deployments up at that level.
Yeah, running the way we were running now, because I mean, there's people that's gonna have more deployments, but I'm like, well, what were you doing? Because were you running that hard? But still, at the same time, man, that guy has gave that life. So yeah, I mean, it still has the same credibility at the same point, man. Because you're like, okay, that guy left his family, left everything, left the world to go do this bidding for the government, for the president, or however you want to break it down. So man, that's still time served if you think about it. So it's honorable, you know what I mean? So we can all be like, no, mine was the most but running at that time and what was going on, man, I would say there was probably more hits done during, man, from like 05 to like, man, 08, 09. It's just because whatever new technology you have, it's going to surge for a little while, but then the enemy's going to figure out, whoa, this is what it is. Get that shit out of here. They don't even have it nowhere around us. Then you're like, okay, well, that's run out. So then, then there's something else that moves forward. But man, I was very lucky to be at that and to run at that level and see. I mean, because, man, everything in life is about repetition. I really believe it. I mean, there's some people that are just super gifted. They're just like, do it the first time, and you're just like, wow, that was cool. But me, that's not. I mean, repetition is everything. And the more I do it, the better I get at it. And it just becomes like an extension of your body, right? The more that you do it. So the more that we were doing it, we were just the best at it. So when somebody's like, well, how many hits did you do on your rotation? Well, we did like, well, I'm like, man, dude, like, we did over 100. Like, how in the hell are you just... So... But are you still the best? I mean, I guess you're good, but I mean, like, you just really, I mean, that was a fine weapon back then. I mean, it was amazing.
So back to that gunship with the 82nd where you just, something's not right.
Yeah.
Did you have any more of that in your rotations? You're like, something's not right here.
Man,
Like,
my whole life is that. Yeah. So I mean, it's just because I see things differently, and it doesn't mean that they're right either. But I see them different. They stand out to me different. But yeah, just oh man, there's just a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that you start seeing. You start seeing how we're being managed, how we're doing things. I mean, there's things that just kind of could be a lot better, a lot better.
I know you're pretty religious, very Christian. Do you think some of that has to do with just faith in God, that you would see things, or He was telling you things? Or?
Yeah. So, man, does God talk to me? Man, sure. Do I wish so, man? Yeah, I wish, man. It would save a lot of time, right? No, not at all. But does He talk to me? Yeah, every day, all the time. But I mean, not. No, it's just in things you see, things that you realize, and you're just like, how the hell can that even possibly happen? I mean, because man, how many coincidences can you have, right? Right. So you can't. So it just and. But things have to change. You gotta have to open yourself up for that. It's people are like, well, it doesn't come to me, and I'm like, man, like, how much do you devote yourself to that? And man, I've been just as terrible as anybody. You know what I mean? So, uh, but when you make a change and you're like, I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna turn this around, man. I'm gonna stop doing these things. I'm not gonna do. And then, I mean, you can start seeing your blessings come to you. You can start watching them come to you, and then you recognize them. But there's some people that even have them and don't even see them. Like they don't understand the word grateful, and I mean like or gratitude, and then they just it's bad. So, but when they finally, you'll see it happen to them though. When the veil starts sliding off, and they kind of commit a little bit, and you watch them change, and you're like, oh man, there you go, there you go. But that's next level stuff, man. Like that's not everybody's. They're just not. I mean, it's crazy how many steps of level I think there is in this world that we get dropped into on Earth. Like we keep climbing and climbing, but there's a spiritual level that man, like we so miss it sometimes, man. And it's like, and I would say back then, I mean, I was always like, man, I know my God. There's no doubt who my God is, and pray to Him, and quite often, and even every time that a life was taken, man, every time I got back from that target, and man, before I laid my head down that night, man, I prayed for those people and their families because man, like we just met at the battlefield. Like I just won this one. It might be me next time, and then now my family's in that same situation. So man, I would because I think that's the right thing to do, and it keeps you into a different. Because I'm telling you, there were some times that I really could have went down a bad road. And a matter of fact, there was a time that was really a bad objective. We were chasing, like I talk about this AMZ, this top guy. We're after him, and we're just getting stupid at this point because we've already blown it the first time and let this guy get away. But we got his driver, and like things are just, we're gonna put this whole thing together, and this is gonna, man, we just fumble this whole thing. I mean, and it just bad one. We just, things are going bad. We hit a target. I think it's tied to this target, or maybe it's that night. It's probably that night. And oh man, so I'm with the Army, and man, this isn't here to bust with them. Like we all grow and we come and we learn TTPs, but at the time, they have a guy that's he's the fires guy, right? And he's the artillery guy. So man, he's just naturally has everything backwards, and it's not his fault. And it's a night I'm like, okay, man, we need the little birds here, we need the gunship here, and he switches it around and gives the Rangers the shit that I'm like, why in the hell are we like what? It just, so frustration's already there. There's things that could be, and man, I'm already sensing, and I'm like, we're into a bad situation, and I'm like, okay, let me put the gunship on this thing right now. And I have this commander with me on target. There's like, he shouldn't. It just would have been different if he wasn't there, man. And sometimes, man, it's just different because he's the head squadron guy. Normally, you're out with your teams. Well, the head guy's out there, so it brings the fires guy out there. So normally it would just be, I would be on the ground, but now I got to kind of work through my guy. He's a sergeant major. The dude's good to go, but he just doesn't know his shit when it comes to this. Man, and I'm like, dude, we got to put the gunship down right now. We got to kill this dude. Like and man, we start doing stupid shit. Sergeant major gets shot through the stomach. Dog gets shot. This whole thing is, we're just almost like, man, is this really like, I'm gonna promise you this. We were not the top that night. We were not the top that night. And man, I'm super frustrated about this, man. And we get back, man, and I let that dude have it, man. I'm like, dude, the shit was all wrong, but he's upset because the commander wasn't giving him permission. And I'm just like, bro, like, this is bad. I got team dudes over here thinking I'm scared to run this gunship and kill shit. And I'm like, man, like, my job is to save life on the battlefield. So, man, like, there was no sense in doing some of the bullshit that we had done when it could have just been taken care of like that fast. And man, like, that was my departure when I said that I had to leave that time. And I welcomely left. I was like, man, like, I'm sorry, man, but like the way that you did that could have all been avoided. Like, but you're fighting an ego, you're fighting things, and you're like, man, if we would use some of these things in better ways, it would have went a little bit better. So man, I had watched like things that we could have did better. And there's nothing worse than being there and it's in your line that you're like, man, if you'll just no, okay, we'll just do that for no reason. And then man, it has consequences. And man, those commanders, they have to deal with it because they know damn well later, man, like, and they figured out later. Well, later on, the fires guy, he becomes a JTAC. Guess what he does now? Oh shit, man! Like the dude's number one. Everything is exactly right because he knows how to do his shit. But very frustrating. Some of the headaches that you would deal with, even up at top level. So man, like when you talk to a young guy and you tell me, I'm like, dude, it's nothing going to be but headaches all the time, and you're always going to be fighting something that should not be in your way. The best advice I ever gave to y'all and everyone is like, your job, when you have people underneath you, your sole purpose is to see obstacles and remove them for your people. Don't put them there. But man, what does most people want to do? Oh, the safest thing is we put an obstacle here. Now I'll have a warning before we get there and it'll save me. Man, like, no, man, you got to let the people flow and you got to remove obstacles and let them go. So, man, you look back and you're like, man, we could have cleaned some things up so much faster. Mm-hmm. And then you got to look at your communication at that point. You're like, man, I am not the guy. Because I'm like, and I'm mad at my career field at the time too, because I'm a little frustrated because I'm like, bro, I'm not the guy that should be telling this 06 of Delta Force that he don't know how to use or understand the capability of this platform. It's not his fault. It just is new. Things or some certain situations, I'm like, man, that was like our head dude that's back at Bragg or back in Pope that is right next door. They can go talk to him and make sure that all that shit, you know what I mean? It's like, we could have did some things better with that. So it was more like, the team guys will throw them over there and then they'll just kind of do their own. And it's like, man, like, why don't we do a lead in here? Like, why don't we come over and talk about like, before each time, like, okay, what are different capabilities? What are different things that's happening out there? Like, what different ways and smooth that over for us to blend in there. But they would assume that would be our job to try to do that. And sometimes, man, it just doesn't work that well. You're trying to tell an 06, he's looking at an E6, and he's like, bro, like, I'm the man. I'm the man. I'm like, man, like, you're definitely good, man, but like you're missing some shit here that could just really take us to the next level. So frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. Was that things you were able to change as you progressed in rank, like up to E8? Was that?
Man, sometimes, and that's kind of how I figured how long I stayed somewhere is like how many battles I won. Like, so when I would go fight for my guys and I would win, like, man, when I was red team sergeant, man, I would just, man, but Buller was the commander, man, and like there wasn't nothing that dude couldn't ask that I wouldn't do. I mean, in a second, I'd be like, bro, like, done. Like, what do you need? It's done. Like, we will. I mean, like, but he would never ask me to do anything criminal or morally or ethically wrong. You know what I mean? But he would want performance, want things done. He'd want to ask me something and never have to check on it again, man, and I would deliver that for him. I remember one of the biggest things is I was going over as I get to be the fires guy this time. It's for my guys. My guys are all going into position. I'm the team sergeant, and I get to go be the guy. When they call back, they talk to me, and I'm sending everything out to them. And I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, but I was like, I can't be the guy no more unless I steal their spot. But I don't want to do that. I want them to go get all that knowledge and experience. But then I get a phone call from Bullman, and he's like, dude, I need you to go down and be the mission commander. And I'm like, what? Man, that is no, man, I want to be with no. But I did it. Definitely did some interesting things during that. But it's funny. We did a couple jumps in in Iraq. It was crazy. Like everyone tried to shut it down, but I'm the commander. I'm like, well, fuck, I'm the commander. We're doing it. I did 2 tandems. Like it was pretty cool. But that is one thing that would be different about me if somebody was to ever take that away. Because as we break down the combat and it's all serious, I'll tell you this: I do believe I'm the first person in Afghanistan to build a full-size half pipe for skating. I built a half pipe. I built a no shit half pipe in Afghanistan.
I didn't know you even skated.
Well, I didn't really, but I was like, well, I'm gonna build, because I knew my kids were gonna want to get into skate, and I was like, shit, I'm gonna build it. Dude, it was a no shit. I think it was 24 foot long, like up 6. Maybe no, it was maybe just a little. Man, 4 foot, 4 foot. I mean, I had coping on it. I mean, it was legit. Oh yeah. So man, like even though that there's combat going on, man, sometimes we have to break ourselves from it and be like, okay, man, like there's still, like you got to go do other things and get your mind free, and it just clears it, like when you're doing stuff. But I mean, yeah, no, it was an awesome build a half pipe, and then I would just try to, man, if I was ever in, I would try to do something that would be a little bit different, man, because man, I just didn't want it to all be war. You go down that road, man, and that's who you'll become. Whatever you feed is what you're gonna become. So you got to be careful. Like it gets its time, but man, like there's got to be a decompressed side on the other side and get away from it, as far away from it as you can.
Yeah, no, I think you did a really good job with that. So did your time there at the 2-4, that's when you got to STTS?
Yeah. And so that was a bad one, man, because I left under bad blood. Not that I really want to dial that back too far.
No.
But I really got to see the world changing, like right then. I mean, it was disheartening. I always had great leaders. I really did, especially in the Army. Man, I just had good leaders. And then coming through ST, I still was having good leaders. And then it's like there's always going to be a different different belief on leaders. But man, we started to get in some folks that just had no time. And man, I know it's not, but like you're going to be in charge of the dude that's downrange, and then we're getting in folks that now are in charge that have no expert, they have not done none of this, and so it changes things. It does, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't. I mean, there's studies done on this, but if I can be in charge of you, and I don't do what you do, it changes things, because I'm gonna go a different direction, because naturally that's where how my promotion, how I'm gonna, it's just the way the machine works. It's different. So man, when you stop, I mean, we stopped having the great, I mean, like we started with Carney, like that dude was just a straight operator, right? I mean, that dude's like jumping in behind or infilling way before, like Desert One goes down, setting off. I mean, like that dude's out there in it. Then we started getting away from it. And I watched when we went away from, like, the Ranger tab came off. That one bothered me one of the most. And if it wasn't for my wife, I probably wouldn't be in the military, because I was never taking that sumbitch off. There was no way I was taking my Ranger tab off my uniform. But I'm on a deployment, she gets all that shit off, because that was just your garrison shit. So it ain't like you have it with you. But she's seen that we probably needed to go a little bit further before I self-imploded on this whole thing. But I'm like, why would you strip that from somebody? Why would you make them take that off? Why wouldn't you be proud that your men would have that? Scott Duffman, man, that's a hard one, man. And you could do different segments all day long on just some of this, but Scott Duffman, man, there's so many different powerful messages that came out of that. But man, I'm at his funeral. We're at Arlington, and man, the sea of Ranger tabs with the berets, it was amazing. I mean, I couldn't believe how many Ranger tabs. But a general saw it, didn't like it. We never wore them again. That's right.
That's why.
That's why.
Wow.
That's why. He saw it, didn't like it, and we took it off. And then when we took it off, we took off so much more. And that's what they didn't realize, because, dude, we had the RZs, Rodriguez, like we had Bullard, Rodriguez. I mean, there were some of they were good. They were hardcore. They were with the guys. They understood, because I tell you what, you take your ass through Ranger school and you try some stupid shit. Well, you'll find out real fast, man. Like, peering is no shit. Like, you want to piss people off, you want to get your unit all screwed up, man, they will peer your ass and send you home. Like, it's not like every day where I can just pass something. Like, no, man, I don't care how good you are. You screw over your dudes, and man, they'll peer your ass out and send you home. So we stopped Ranger school, man. Like, show me when's the last time an officer went to Ranger school? So then you start breaking it down, and I'm not here to beat on them. I'm not here to, but I'm like, there's a point where if you're not me anymore, but you're in charge of me, and you have hidden agendas, and I'm telling you, man, like, I had some deep conversations, man. I had some, like, this shit that folks would talk to me about, man, it would drive me crazy, man. I'm like, I had an officer tell me one time, I wanted to put in my guy. So I already knew, man. I already knew that this wasn't going to go well. I want to put my guy in for Airman of the Quarter, Airman of the Year, whatever it was. And he was the man. Brandon Merriman. There's no doubt that guy was it. And I get told that he's just not going to win. And it was probably because some bullshit, like, didn't do some charity something, or didn't do some, I don't know. So I'm just like, man, like, you couldn't ask for nobody during this time to be the model leader that, like, I think if all America got together and could be like, man, who is downrange, who is fighting for my freedom the most out of anybody in this entire world, it'd be like, dude, that's that fucking guy, man. It's like, no, man. And then I have him sit there and explain to me, and this is a guy this is the new commander, and he's just like, I figured out the system. And once you figure out the system, I just am always going to win. And I'm like, yeah, man. But we're supposed to fight that damn thing. But at that point, nothing mattered anymore. Nothing mattered. It was right at that point, man, that light bulb turned on to me, and I knew I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I mean, it just changed. The guy was like, we're shaving all our beards. I'm like, holy, the regular SD still got beards. I'm like, are you shitting me with this? And it was like, we're going to, and I'm like, wow. It was just, when you don't love your people, you rule your people. You rule them. And when you rule them, it's just different, man. Like, when you love your people, man, it's just it's a different atmosphere. It changes everything. And like, I seen it right now. I was like, oh my God, man. And I was like, and it was coming from, normally there's like an offset, like, oh, we got a shitty chief, and then we got a good commander, shitty. I mean, I had like two non-war fighting people. I'm like, holy shit. Like, it got quite interesting. And then I just realized, man, that we got some things that and it can't, I know it's like, well, what if we're not at war? What if we're not, I don't know. There's schools for it to make these people who they need to be. But whenever you decide to create something and put people in charge of things that they don't do, things are always interesting. Man, if you can't get down and like you said earlier, like the cleaners, man, like, dude, you know how crazy I am. Dude, like, whoever your top dude is, like, dude, he would be on the bottom dude on the cleaning crew for one day. And then he would probably be the second guy on the cleaning crew. Then he would be the head guy on the cleaning crew. And then whatever he did in his whole life, when he looked, he's like, dude, I already know how to help that dude right now by doing this. And I've already saved us that much time. You know, just seeing the whole world a different way, man. Like, once you realize what people are going through and how you can save, I could save this guy 5 minutes if I just did this right here. I could save this, and man, I've shaved so much time, and now we're doing so much. We're just at a different level, you know what I mean? But that's loving your people. It's loving them. So, but you got people that just rule. And then when you let your rulers in, man, it gets weird, because then they build a system to protect themselves, and then guess who you have at the end? Just a bunch of rulers. And then it just, man, it's tough, man.
think our government could probably use that lesson.
That's right.
Love their people, not rule.
That's right.
Yeah. It'd be a lot better of a country if that's really the case.
Yeah.
But hearing you talk about that, it makes me understand even now the way you were teaching us NCOs, because you were like, you're gonna know every kid's name in the family, you're gonna know the dog's name, you're gonna know something. That way, when something's off with them,
That's right.
you're gonna know something
That's right.
is going on. And I think I understand now why you were that way.
Yeah.
You know, because you were teaching us as young NCOs, not just leading guys for, as an NCO for military training or for war, but I mean, it was everything about that guy's personal life. Even with me and you, I mean, you were like, you knew my wife, you knew my dog, you knew where I lived, you knew everything that was going on in my life. And that way, if something was wrong, you could be like, something's not right with this guy.
No, that's right.
And I get it now. I really do.
Well, it's really all that matters in the end, because we'll get like look back and some people make the policies all about their life, and I'm like, what policy? Which one were we talking about? What year were we talking about? There was always some stupid shit that never made no sense to nobody. But we would focus 100% on that. I'm like, man, you got some people over here struggling and hurting. Let's fix them. We can do that. So, but man, some people just see it's just a different way of like seeing the world. And then, man, like if you are leading people, once again, and you're not doing the same thing, man, you'll set up an entire system and it will take off and then be at a whole nother level. Shit, at the end, I needed approval. I was like, wait a minute, I need this guy that don't do what I do. I need him to tell me that I'm the guy to go be the. I'm like, holy shit, like, how would that ever happen? Like, why would that? Do you think that guy would ever want me? No, it wouldn't make no sense at all. Like, it would. No, the way once that design happens, I mean, and I was watching it. Like combat time didn't matter anymore. This didn't matter anymore. This didn't anything that was for regular people, but for folks that were actually making an impact on what was happening, they were just getting hamstringed the whole time, and you're just like, wow, holy shit. So what really does matter? Because the DoD, that does the bidding for the citizens of the United States to go and just handle business, not bullshit. Man, if they knew how much bureaucracy was up in this bullshit, I mean, like, a lot of folks they wouldn't be employed anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you could clean out a lot of some bitches that ain't doing jack and shit for nothing. That's, yeah. Or at least they would get busy real quick.
Yeah.
That would change. No, I feel like we built an entire system that was just of more of these people that don't really do a whole lot of shit. And I'm just like, wow, we got a bunch of those.
I agree with you. I think pretty much anyone's going to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of
and just keep building. We'll build this, and we'll have more structure. And we got 1,000 of guys that don't do anything. And I'm like, okay, that's really not good.
Yeah.
That's not where we were trying to go. No, and I just seen the different philosophies. We were going. We went integrated. So we went integrated up at 2-4, which was great. I think that's where it should happen. I don't know that it should happen. Would I love it to be down at the lower levels? And I believe they probably just pulled the trigger and did it again. Man, if you have enough people trained up and that are 5 levels, we have this weird thing in the Air Force between 3 level, 5 level, and 7 level. Like the Army don't deal with that shit. Folks don't deal with that in other places, but we have it. So then you're kind of hamstringed. Well, I need this guy to sign this for me to do this. Well, that guy's deployed. Well, then how in the hell do we get this guy to this level if all the guys that sign the paper are deployed, you know what I mean, that can train this guy? That's the only problem with it. I absolutely believe you should be integrated. We were going integrated and doing some wild stuff, and I was like, man, give me my support guys. I want my own support guys. Like, give them to me right here on the team. And they shut that shit down. And I'm like, why? Because the Army and Navy have it. And man, I hate to say it, but there's one answer, because their ass ain't needed no more. It really was because, well, no, when we meet up, we're going to decide which guys go with. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, man? They should already be working with me, understand how we TT, because every team's different. I don't really care. We had 4 teams up there. Every team was different. Different personalities, how they handled things, the way they can do their business. And that's going to change with team sergeants. You went through more than one team sergeant, right? Team sergeants changed.
Oh, yeah.
Going to be a little bit different. Some things are going to be laid out just a bit different. So it's all a little. But when you have your own support structure that's all right there with you, man, like that's how they. I mean, when they blow out, like the guys already shit in the team room, ready to go. So we could have lined things up better. And I realized we weren't building it for like to grow the mission in the team. We were growing headquarters. And when you grow headquarters, what does headquarters really do? Shit, I mean, ours don't even go on target. So they're not even there. They don't even lead us. So, what I'm saying? So, and then we grew this, I don't know, a monster. And it was just an interesting, it was very, very interesting to say the least.
So that was probably a lot of struggles when you were E8.
But I wasn't even an E8 yet. Matter of fact, I had at that point because I'd seen enough. I was like, that's it. I was like, this is a volunteer unit. I'm volunteering to take my family back to Florida and start to go live my life. I mean, I'm like, it ain't the same. Like you definitely, this is not. This isn't what I came here for. I mean, this isn't like we're done. Like now, it was becoming political bureaucracy. It was just interesting. Man, the biggest thing I remember was who was going to be the next team sergeant after me. We always picked who was the next team sergeant. No, we're going to decide that now. I'm like, wait, two dudes that ain't even got combat time. We should decide who is for the national mission. Who is going to be like? Well, you don't really. What the fuck? Like, who on the planet knows better for this situation than the damn? I'm like, but get the fuck, because I don't really want to hear too much when you get up above that. Because man, like, I don't know, man. You got op soups that were never team sergeants. You got chiefs that were never team sergeants. I'm like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, that's a different, almost in the admin at that point. So when you're talking about the war fighting and getting stuff done, man, like that, and it's always going to go back to that guy, whoever that guy is, man. That's who we should be supporting, who we should be giving them everything they need. Not, I don't know.
I think people would really be surprised in the special operations world how political it is. Like hearing you talk about this kind of stuff. Because even
sickening.
Me coming into it as like a cross train and everything, I thought there'd be no politics in ST. I thought it would just be a bunch of good old bros getting along with each other. But yeah, the politics are.
No, it's
there.
It's ridiculous, and not like I don't see it at the other levels. Like when I seen it, I mean, like, and dude, they'll tune some shit up, man. Like, dude, even that shit. I don't care if you're an officer. I don't care if I don't care who you are. You're on a training mission, or you're on boy. When that shit gets called out, dude, it's all spotlight on you, and I don't give a shit who you are. I don't care what. Right? It does not matter, man. That shit gets lit up right then, and like, for us, we live in this pilot world. You know what I mean? It's like everything's about a pilot. I'm like, what the hell does it, like? Really? Okay. Well, okay. I mean, if that's it, just. I mean, how long did we go and they didn't do shit? I'm like, but when you're trying to make an impact on a war, and that. I don't know, man. It can get real diluted on. It's just it is a weird animal.
Yeah,
it is a weird animal.
Definitely.
And that's the Air Force ism that because the games that I've seen, like some of the shit that was played, like at officer level, man, it was fucking ridiculous. Like a stow on stow. I was just like, what in the hell are y'all doing? Like it's just it's interesting shit. Made no sense to me. But somehow it was tolerated, which I don't know, man. But I look back, man, and there was some good ones, man. There was some so good ones. Patrick Ward, man, that guy. Man, folks will just never know how good this guy was, man. I mean, this guy was. I mean, like talking to him would be like talking to Benjamin Franklin, probably. The guy was just so smart. Just when we took for OIF or no OEF, like Afghanistan, when that first took off, he goes over and stands up like Uzbekistan. He hadn't seen his wife in forever. She's becoming a doctor. I don't think he's seen her for like 2 years. But this guy, man, like he loved his people, loved the team guys, and took care of them, man. Like it was legit. And but he left. The good ones always leave. That's what it is.
They're smart enough to leave. I think that's what it is. Just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, finish timeout, STTS. I know you came over to 2-3.
Yeah, I went over to 2-3, man, and I was trying to do my best over there, man. There's so much talent there. Dudes were trying, man. But man, there's some.
No, it was awesome. Like, because
But man, that thing was so set up for failure, man. I mean, I got a commander, they ain't got no time in I got a chief, ain't got no time. I got a deal, maybe he pulled one rotation, but man, you're just like, goodness, like, man, and this is okay. Like, these folks are making decisions on these, like, it's serious shit, man. I almost feel like, man, you should have to meet every person's family, like mom, dad, and like be like, okay, man, like I am taking this guy, and like, because some of the bullshit, you're like, why would you? It's just not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had strong team sergeants because
Man, everything from the team sergeant down was good. There's some of them I wish that would have been a little bit, like, they just needed a little more hands-on with some good leaders, because some of them got a hold of some not toxic leaders, but man, I don't know that their direction was, man, if they just maybe could have had a little more God in their life, would have changed everything, right? It's not just something to, because man, you're gonna tiptoe in some really interesting things into special operations, and I don't care if you're a SEAL, I don't care if you're a Ranger, I don't care what you are. You're gonna get sent out onto the world, and there's gonna be some weird temptations, and things are gonna be out there. It's not bad to have a little bit on your side that's like, because it's, if you don't think temptation and shit's gonna be out there to mess with you, and like, it's gonna be out there from all over, and then let alone with people trying to kill you. So I mean, like, evil, you're gonna face evil every day, at some point.
Yeah. I remember we had I got there, I had Sal, that was my first team sergeant. Sal the Mini, Bowser was there, Human was there, Lando was there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who the PJ team sergeant was. I can't remember, but yeah, always seeing you and Lando interact was always hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, just,
dude, he would come in and beat his head against the wall. Man, like, folks would say no for no reason. I know he wanted to take his team out and do a jump in to some civilian spot. I'm like, man, go get me a DZ, man. Go make me some shit, and so I can go sell this thing. And like, but no shit, man. I'm like, I promise you, like, if something goes wrong, I'm taking you and I'll hang your ass right in front. I mean, I'm carrying you by your neck, but I'll give anybody all the rope that they need. But you better come in and show me your shit's tight. Don't pull no bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I want that shit tight. But yeah, man, he got. No, man. I'm like, why do I have to fight these battles for things that we should be doing? You know what I mean? Like, there should be some, that you should be that confident that you are lucky to have a Atlanta Vazo that can go take this team and do this, because your next team sergeant is not going to be able to do this. He's not going to have 10 or 12 years of JSOC experience followed with some other side of some sick stuff that folks will never even know about. Like, and then he's going to come here and push that all over your guys and bleed it all over. Like, I mean, you're lucky to have it, and you want to take full opportunity on that stuff.
Yeah. No, he was awesome. I need you still talk to Lando?
I do.
Yeah, I need
he's
to get him over here.
He's in the Bahamas right now.
Is he?
I was supposed to set sail with him. I think it was last Saturday. We were going to sail across and go to the Bahamas, and man, I was like,
nice.
I couldn't get the rental house done in time. So, and life is just, I mean, I love it. I feel like I'm going to run out of time, because I'm just like, man, I couldn't be happier. Like, I love it, but I'm like, man, there's just so much I want to do.
Yeah.
But I'm blessed every day.
Yeah.
I really am. So
I'll tell you what, let's take a quick little break.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the farming.
Okay,
Because I love what you got with BucknHam Farms.
Okay,
I mean, the
do
product's good. And yeah, let's take a little quick break, and we'll come back to talk about the farm stuff.
Okay, for sure.
Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying the show. I'm gonna start selling my prints with all profits going to charity. This is a way I wanted to give back, because as much as I appreciate you donating money without getting anything in return, I wanted to give you something in return. So my website will be up soon, johnhowardart.com. And or if you donate to the charity directly, I will also give you the print. There's a lot of different photos you can pick out, different sizes, canvas, prints, whatever you want. All the profits will be going to charity, to like Surf Brigade or First Air Foundation and any other good local charities I can think of. So thank you. Okay, well, back from the break, let's talk about, so you retired from the military, 26 and a half years. I mean, obviously did really, really good with that. And then I think you did some contract, or you worked for like T1G.
I did. I worked
Yeah.
for them for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was I just didn't know what I wanted to do right when I did the break. So I just like anybody, you think, oh my God, I need employment right away, right? I just have to have employment. So, but yeah, I hooked up with T1G through some people. It just seemed to work out. It was awesome. Most money I ever made in my life. It was. I it was rolling in. It was amazing. I mean, I was like, holy cow, with everything that was coming in. Most money I ever made, but probably maybe the most unhappy I ever was too. So you just got to be careful with what you chase, because you'll end up chasing something for a little longer than you want to. So I told myself, you know, I'd probably lived out half my life. I mean, let's say, I mean, I'm at that point over 40. So, I mean, if I just need to make a decision. Is this how I want to finish out? And, you know, you start to reflect on a few things and think to yourself, and, man, I was like, this isn't how I want to finish out. This isn't the Rob Bartleson that I want to be. So, I had some land, and I'd just been sitting on it, and then I was like, well, I'll fence it in and kind of do some deer and like feed them, and then we put a couple pigs out there, and man, it just so we started with 6 pigs. Man, we probably had over 70 pigs at one time up there, so that was the creation of BucknHam Farms, man. And it was the piece that I needed to, because man, you're a little messed up after serving that much time, and then to be that much in actually combat time, you know, and just or being around that many combat people all the time too, because man, there's just so much that come with it. It just really is. I mean, we got losses, we got widows, we got. I mean, like there's a part that will just wear you down. It will absolutely wear you down, and question like what is going on. Like, because when you step out and man, like the merry-go-round stops, the music stops, and then you find yourself and you're like, man, where am I? And you want to find some peace. And man, I think that like I look at some of your stuff and you strive for nature and you go find it, and man, nothing gives you that peace like being out in that nature. So the farm was where I just gravitated to. It was healing. The animals will actually, if you let them, they'll heal you. The land will, if you let it, if you listen, it'll put you to work. And I mean, you'll work like you ain't never worked before, man. That's when I tell people, I'm like, man, if you want, like, can I come to the farm? And I'm like you, like when I set the expectations, like you come to the farm for a military dude, I'm like, you're coming on an MLAT, a multi-lat, which is an airfield seizure. And if you've ever done one before, man, it's about 2 weeks of just, man, like it's the long days. You're just hitting it hard. You're grinding. But man, it's like when you get done, you're just like, man, you feel fulfilled. You're like, man, I really did something today. Like even if it was just building something for some animals or doing something, like it really has so much satisfaction that comes along with it. It's healing, all at the same time. So I would say that farm's probably saved my life. Yeah.
No, that's really good. I mean, I've seen the happiness in you.
Yeah.
You know, like you didn't really smile too much when I knew you in the military.
No, that's never been my trait.
Like that was like you didn't smile so much, and then like when I saw you with the farm and the farmers market, I was just like, I feel like I didn't even know who you were.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
guy.
not
Yeah,
the Rob
yeah,
Bartleson
yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
You know, you were always smiling, and
Sure.
I didn't even see you like posting boomerangs on social media. I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
never thought I would see Rob Bartleson do that. But you know, the goats going in and out of the water, the pigs. I was like, this is really, really cool.
Oh man, like it is, and I feel bad sometimes because I don't do it as much as I did. But it's not because I don't want to. It's because today was the first boomerang I had done in forever. I'm over at my neighbor's house. So you told me this was gonna maybe push an hour later. So I was like, man, I can actually take the tractor, which we need to make sure we talk about that. That's huge. That tractor is huge. That's a blessing from God, right? That's you got to count your blessings and then give recognition where they're due, right? But I got to run over with my tractor and put a device on the back, a disc that I hadn't used in maybe probably 2 years. Threw it on the back and went over and disced up his land. He texted me yesterday and was like, man, I got some seed. And I'm like, well, then you need some ground tore up. So I got to run next door, tear it all up, man, and it was awesome. And then as I was finished, I was like, wait a minute, I don't ever take. So I just kind of grabbed the thing and shot it and was like, man, I got to remember to do that. because it's important too. I remember John Butler. He's not with us no more, man. Good guy, real good guy. But he always loved watching my little videos of the farm and seeing that, and it brings back memories like when he was young and around the farm and stuff. So I really do gotta do that because man, it's. But sometimes I'm like, man, it's sometimes I'm like these gifts are just for me, and you just gotta take them in. You know what you're out, you're in nature, and you're like, no, maybe I don't have the phone right now, or this one's for me. But then sometimes I really got to get myself away from the phone too. So I had to really get separated from it at one point because when I picked up the job with T1G, and in the job that you do, that phone is everything. Like there's money attached to the other end of it. There's livelihoods. There's all kind of things stuck to the other side of it. The beauty with farming is my animals don't call me, so it's really kind of cool. But I'm not saying that things don't happen that you get your phone calls, but I did want to separate myself from the phone for a while because when I had my job before, if it rang, I had to answer it. And I had to. And I was like, man, how nice would it be to detach myself from it? And so I had pushed myself away from it sometimes.
No, absolutely.
And I like to get separated from it. But at the same time, it has become this part of thing that, we use it for very many things.
Absolutely. I think we talked about this before another time, but I try to use it for positive, like posting in nature. But like when I'm out in nature, it's in my pocket. I'll only pull it out to tape something real quick, and then I put it away. I won't post it right there at the time because I want to be immersed into all that nature. I want to be part of it.
That's right.
And then when I come home later that night, that's when I'll upload.
And it's genius because no matter where you're at, something's trying to pull you out of that where you're at. And the reason why you're there is probably because you wanted to be there, and then something's always going to be trying to pull you out of it. So it's a very important lesson to.
I try to limit my phone use a lot. I think I told you I did my first psychedelic trip like 3 years ago, and I felt this pain in my pocket, and I reached in my pocket, and it said, "This thing's going to kill you. Stop using it so much." And ever since then, I just had this different theme with the phone.
That's right.
Where I'm like, I just don't want to be on it as much.
It's a tool.
Try to spend more time with the wifey, my friends, and at the moment, and then if I am using it, try to just for the right reasons, not just let me just scroll through videos or waste time on social media and stuff
that's
like
right.
that.
It's very addicting.
It can be very
because it's catered to anybody. The addiction is there for whatever addiction you have. It's right there, and it'll feed it.
Exactly.
So it'll absolutely feed it.
So
take your time.
Let's talk about the tractor.
Let's talk about that tractor.
Yeah.
So, man, I am. I'm going to school. I decided, I'm going to go back to school, give this a shot. But I'm like, man, do I really want to do more schooling? Because, man, it's just frustrating sometimes. But sometimes you do. But there was a welding thing going on. I was like, well, man, I'm going to go to welding, man. This is hands-on. Loved it, man. It was awesome. So I'm doing welding. And, man, I, once again, have zero time in my life. I would go to the farm until... I think I had to leave had to be coming out that gate by like 1 or 12:45 so I could get home, get cleaned up, and be at the college by 2. And then I finished up at like 10, and that was every night. And I'm just running at like, man, 100 miles an hour. But Farmers Veteran Coalition said, hey, apply for this thing. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? These bitches are going to get the real raw, man. I mean, they're going to get it, man. Like, here's what you get. Because I'm like, no, we don't win shit like this. That stuff like that don't happen. I'm like, you're going to get it. And I'm like, man, I get up from here. I go to here, man. It's usually like terrible conditions. Because, I mean, the beauty of like right now when I'm not doing anything else, it's like if it's raining from here to here, well, no problem. I'll just go from here to here. But when you're locked into it, like you got to be at no, man, like business will be done between here and here, and that farming will get done, or then you ain't going to school, right? Because life comes before everything else, and those are heartbeats out there. So they get they get priority on everything. So, man, I had to hustle, man. It'd be pouring down rain and just shit. And I just was like, I'm tired of writing like what people think people. I'm going to tell them exactly how it is, man. It was raw. It was like, I do this to get to this, to some of the most unappreciated shit you ever did. Boom. And then, man, they call me and they're like, hey, man, there's so many gifts that we give out. And they're like, I'll just say that you're in the running for one of them. And I was like, dude, I was so excited. I was like, dude, maybe I can get like $1,000 gift certificates. That was one of them for like Tractor Supply. And I was like, man, we could do some cool stuff with this. I put in some water stuff or something, and man, they're like, look, and then we see that all these things came out, and these people got these things, and we're like, man, we didn't get it. And then, but this lady, she would call me back, and she's like, okay, well, I just want to let you know you're still in the same running, or you're in the running, but like we're just not sure yet. We're talking to some sponsors. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, what else is left? And then there's this thing I look at, it's like geared to drive, or no, geared to give through Kubota. And I was like, oh man, this looks pretty cool. I was like, holy shit, you can get implements, you can get this. Dude, and then they call me up and they're like, bro, you are getting a tractor, man. And I'm like, man, it's so cool, man. I was like, because we don't get nothing. And then I'm like, okay, man, it's going to be this cheap little tractor, but I don't care. I'm just so happy I'm getting this tractor. And then they're like, well, we're looking at your land and kind of figuring out like what you're going to need. And I'm like, because my land, man, you've been out there. I mean, that terrain, like you don't think you're in Florida. Man,
Oh, it's
most
hilly.
people, yeah, most people think you're in Kentucky. I mean, like you would not believe that's Florida. And I'm like, well, that's gonna suck. It'll be 2-wheel drive. It'll be this thing, but I don't care. We'll make it work. We'll figure this thing out. Dude, they busted out the cat's meow, man. 4-wheel drive, HST drive. I mean, like the top of the line, man. I mean, this thing is awesome. I mean, it's just been incredible, man. And to get it because, you know, you had to put in your DD form 214. I had to put in 2 since I had 2 services. So there was a lot of things that lean to it, but we don't usually get those. It usually goes to somebody else or something. So it was really cool to see that come through, man. And I was like, man, those are blessings. You know what I mean? And sometimes when you think, oh man, this is tough, farming's going hard, and I'm like, I got a tractor that's sitting right there. Used it today, helped a neighbor with it, man. You're gonna see that thing put logs on sawmills, cut things up. I mean, like that tractor is, man, it's a force multiplier. I mean, it changed the whole farm capabilities. I mean, it brought me to a whole nother level, man. And I'm still at just level 1. You know what I mean? Like I'm still down there, but it's cool, man.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it's an awesome story about them as well.
Yeah.
So with the farm, you got pigs, you got goats,
Yeah. So
chickens.
that's right. So I'll kind of talk about why we started and how we started. So 21 acres, and it seems like, oh my God, 21 acres ain't shit for farming. You're right, man. You're right. Conventional farming, 21 acres ain't shit. That ain't nothing. Conventional or organic farming, it's miles and miles and miles because, man, I can't use fertilizer. I can't use chemicals. I can't use pesticides. I can't use herbicides. I can't use anything. Like if it didn't come out of the back of that animal, I can't really use it. So I had red clay up there that was, man, you'll see it in some spots still. And when I dig it up, sometimes I forget about it. And then I'll go to set a post or something and I'll dig and I'll be, holy cow, look at it down there. Because the animals have changed the terrain over the years. So, I mean, they've had about almost 5 years on it. And they came in, it was a complete forest, and they've changed it. It looks like a state park now. Like you can walk anywhere. But before, I'd be on my hands and knees to walk through, to get through this stuff. Every now and then, there'd be places you could stand up, then you get caught in vines. Wait, I mean, it was a jungle to say the least. And I've been in jungles, so I mean, Panama, I've been in Colombia. I mean, I've been in jungles. It was pretty bad. And if you don't ever think, you jump the fence and walk over a couple places and find out where the animals haven't been. Yeah, real quick, you'll find out how bad it can be. But they cleared it. Instead of using diesel to do it and bring in farm equipment, we decided, well, we wanted the topsoil to stay, topsoil remain the same. So we brought in the animals, and the animals have done all the work. So they've removed everything for us. Anytime I want to do anything, I just gonna drop a tree, and you'll see that. We'll get some video on that. Watch.
Yeah.
Drop a tree, and the pigs and goats just come and clean that thing right then. I'll limb it off, take that wood, then go put it to use right away and build something. So it's absolutely amazing seeing that, using God's creatures to do the work instead of, but then I do tie it in with the tractor because that was given to me, and then the diesel comes in and does some work also. But to watch the land change over time. I mean, in this last year, it's just beautiful. And right now, the leaves just changed. It's just really cool because in Florida, you don't really get that, but right up there you do. And it's really cool to watch the leaf, and it's just a beautiful time of year.
Yeah. I can't wait to show the audience the video of it, because I think most people, they think of a farm, they're thinking everything's just fenced in.
Oh yeah.
And your pigs and goats, I mean, they have the whole 21 acres roam around. They even have the lake down there.
They sure do.
They go in and out of it.
That's right.
I mean, these are actual free range, not free range where they have like, what is it, 3 meters of space or something like that.
That's right.
They're full
So
free range.
the farm belongs to them. No human being resides on the farm. And I was seriously nervous about this, or ever even saying it out loud, because I'm like, man, what would people do if they knew that? But no human being lives on the farm. We live in Niceville, and we travel to our farm every day. So the farm belongs to the animals. It is their domain. And we're their shepherds, and we just go and we make sure that we remove obstacles, we feed them, we make sure that they're taken care of, but it's theirs. I mean, if anything, it would be the two Great Pyrenees that run the show, because they do run the show. I mean, they're the bosses up there. They run the show. They take care of security. Yeah, they do. But without them, we tried it without them, and we were losing an animal every night. As soon as we got the dogs, never lost another one, unless they had something to do with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Every now and then, some stuff they go a little rogue, and you gotta be like, get them back in. But no.
But they fight the coyotes off. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They won't stand a chance. Yeah, nothing's coming on that farm that doesn't belong there. They'll take care of that right away. Oh yeah. And if you ever seen Pyrenees, they have the extra set of dew claws in the back. So when they get on the animal, they just stick it and pin it down, and then they can't get up. They just devour it. So it's the ultimate submission hold. So yeah, it's the ultimate full mount that they do.
Yeah.
And with no escape, you're done. Yeah.
So with the farming, was that ever like in your military career, like when I get out, I'm gonna go start raising farm? Or
I don't know. I don't. But some things have really. So when we go back, like 1776, like when you see where, like that was an important time in history, and when you look back, like it goes back to almost leadership and conquerors and true leaders, because when you look at this war being won, right, and now you have the new America that's now here, right. It was for the taking. If you think about it, it was for the taking, right? So Washington, they could all just took it. It was theirs for the taking. They didn't. What they do? They went back to their farms. So at the time when they just won and they had everything and they could have took it all, they went back to their farms. That's what was important to them. So man, I reflect on that and I'm like, man, like why? After that much war, how could that be your top thing? And then man, you go spend some time on it and then you realize how much peace is there. It really is. It's so man, like that would be my message for anybody that just can't find it. I'm like, man, like it will if you let it heal you. But I mean, I don't know. I say that, but I mean, I guess if you've been a city guy your entire life and never been in the woods for a second, I don't know how that's going to work out. But I mean, the nature there's peace there, and you know that yourself.
it is.
Nothing will deliver that to you.
You know, I mean, I think everybody, especially the way I got out of the military, I was very angry.
You sure?
And the nature, you're right, it healed me.
Sure.
Like when I'm out there, and the nature's not trying to harm me.
No.
I mean, you know, like
Well, you can see your enemy.
Yeah.
It doesn't plot and scheme.
And it just makes
If it wants to kill you, you know that it wants to kill you. There's no hidden. There's no like I'm gonna slide around the back to do that. I'm like that's not. That's so that's when we go back to our Christianity. I mean, like that's devil stuff. Like you don't. I mean, you just come straight at somebody and let them know. You know what I mean? That's clean.
But I know you feel there's that energy out there when you get away from the city.
That's
and
right.
you get away from the cell phone towers and you're actually in nature miles away. There's just something there. It's very healing.
It is.
I think there's something in there probably primal. It goes way back into our genetics or something. But like when I'm just sitting there in the dirt, sitting there in the sand, and I'm just observing wildlife do what it does, it's the happiest thing that I know of. You know, like someone asked me, like, I forgot what it was, but I said, the thing that makes me happiest is free.
That's right.
And it's being in nature. It's not a car, it's not a vacation, it's not a house, it's not, you know, something I can buy physically. It's the happiest thing is free, and it's nature.
I believe that for sure, and I think if you can try to get back to your younger self. So I think if you would ask yourself, like, well, when you were 5 or like somewhere in there between 5 and 10, like what would be the coolest thing that you and your friends would probably go do? And I mean, like some people, video games, but if you can dial it back and say when you could use your imagination and go out and explore, and that like everybody has that in them. You know what I mean? It just wants to go out and like it's healing. You're exploring, you're seeing nature, and you're seeing really what God gave you. And we're all being, man, we can go into it, but you're going to be tricked by the devil. And man, everything that's man-made and everything that's this is going to, and control desires, but what he gives you and what you see in nature, man, it's just pure and beautiful, and it's just perfect.
Yeah. You just said something that made something click in my head. Nature's never trying to trick me or tempt me or get me like off my moral compass. Like it's the complete opposite.
That's right.
You know, like if I had to go hang out with a bunch of humans, go to a bar or something like that, it's probably some temptations there or something that's going to happen. Nature never does that to me.
No.
Pelicans don't hurt me.
No.
You know, like I love being out there with them every day.
Sure.
And it's very magical to me, you know.
That's right.
And then my head is clear, my phone's away. You know, that's actually one thing I love about having the camera
Yeah.
that I bought. There's no cell phone service on it, right? So now my phone's actually away. Like I'll actually leave my phone on the boat and I just have my camera where I'm just taking photos. And my head is just like, when I come back, even just after 2 hours of being out there, I'm just happier. I'm mellowed out. I'm just good.
And you're present.
Yeah.
You're present.
That's the thing, present.
Present. People really don't understand how important that is, but being present, you're present.
Absolutely. No, so Friday, we're going to go out to the farm.
Oh yeah.
Me and Randy. I can't wait to get the footage out there and show everyone like what an actual free range is, because like it's fun. And then the quality of the food, the meats that you provide. I mean, it is the cleanest, most organic pork and goat
That's
products
right.
you're going to
So yeah, like we tell you, anybody that comes onto the farm, and not many people do, but we do bring a couple people, a couple of select clients we brought out because we're just like, man, it's just, you know, we don't really service a whole lot of folks, but yeah, I mean, there's no corn, there's no soy, there's no, I mean, there's no antibiotics, no nothing. I mean, if it's not on that farm, they ain't getting it unless it's Tucker Milling and their non-GMO brand. So I mean, like, we ask you, please don't bring anything onto the farm that's not non-GMO organic, because we just don't want it on the farm. I don't want to have to explain to a client that somebody brought something onto the farm and the animal ate it, even though it would probably not do. But I'm like, why do we just don't want to go down that road? Yeah.
So what's next for Rob Bartleson in the future, besides the farming? Where do you see yourself going?
Man, I don't know. I'll probably just hang around the farm, and I really think I'll just stay. I mean, I don't know though. That's a tough one. I love it. I want to build things now. So a buddy of mine I went in with, and we bought a sawmill. Well, he bought it, and then I went in and bought a bunch of extra pieces and all kind of stuff.
The sawmill.
Combat controller, Pat Crow, and another buddy of mine. I went in on a board edger with, like, so I got all these devices, and I want to start building things, man. Like when I started, I was like, okay, man, like this is cool. Like I want to start building couple log homes, couple things, and then I'm like, and it's just so fun, man. It's like when I do it, I'm not saying that I'm a pleasure to be around all the time when I'm doing it. My brother gets the shit into the stick all the time because he gets the PTSD coming out, like, rah, you know, like when shit ain't going my way or stuff getting like, you know, I expect everybody to run at the national level, right? Everybody. It don't matter if it's my wife, kids, you know, everybody should be running at that top level, man. It's just not exactly how it really works, you know what I mean? Because when you run at that level for that long, and that excellence, you expect it to be around you and surrounded everywhere, man. And other folks didn't really sign up for that shit either, you know what I mean? So sometimes I gotta dial it back and be like, okay, man, let me manage my expectations, right? Because sometimes we make them a little crazier than they should be. But life is fun. I mean, I wake up every day and I'm so happy. I'm absolutely happy. I'm happy I have the farm. I'm happy that the decisions that we've made and the choices that we've made. You know, sometimes, man, if you got to walk from something, just walk, man, and take your integrity, your pride, take it all with you, and let them have it. And you know what I mean. But so I'm probably gonna be there for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't know what could call me and take me off the couch. I mean, I told you earlier, somebody just wrote me today and were like, what would it take to get the farm, get that property out there? And I was like, a death certificate. Man, I'm not, like, why would I give up something that brought me so much peace? Like, what price tag are you going to put on that? And I just don't know that it could. I don't know that I'm there yet. And I don't know that I've ever seen land like it before. I don't think I can replace it. The land don't even make sense there, being right next to that shoal river. And it's just, I think we'll walk through it again and you'll see it and you'll be like, this doesn't seem like anything around here.
Yeah.
And I'm building it, I'm designing it. So it's full of trees and I start taking the ones out and leaving the ones that I want. And every time I look at one, I'm like, which tree do I want my grandson looking at or my granddaughter looking at or which one? Like it's that strategic because you just go out there and start doing whatever you want, man. And there's just, you can't make something that's 40, 50, 60 years old or even more come back when you make that choice.
Yeah.
But
that's very true.
everything gets used though. So you'll see me cut. We'll do a full. I mean, I'll cut something down and pull it and make a 6x6 out of it or something, and watch it go right to use. You'll see it, man. It's so cool. Because then you're like, man, this has got to be how it was like in the early 1800s. Just people coming out, finding trees, cutting them down. But it's so much harder. I got the sawmill that'll cut through it, and they're using like 2 man on one on each side, shaving these logs, and man, that would be something else, man.
Yeah.
But it's exciting.
Well, I think we're just about done here. You've always given me great advice, given everyone great advice. At the age you're at now, what you know now, what kind of advice would you give, let's say, an 18-year-old kid looking to join the military?
Talking to me when I was so that's a man, because you really got to shape your message for your audience, right? Because your audience is always, man, because every 10 years I'm a different person, right? I would react or answer things differently, man. And I would say go and think about, if you're a religious guy, and that's who, and anybody can tie it in, but if you're going to show up to heaven and you're going to show up to God, have a skill set, and as much as you can, like show up with as much, like you're not going to show up with knowledge, right? Because he's got more knowledge than anything, right? But like, what did you do with your time while you were here, and how were you a good steward of that time? Try to build the kingdom, but at the same time, like, be a person that strives to get as much done. Go do it all. Don't be like, well, I want to just do that. No, everything that you can physically do it. If you can go to airborne school, go to airborne school. If you can go to jump master, if you can go to tandem, you can chase it all. Go get it all. It's all experience, because it's going to help you down the line, because you're going to face a problem set and you're going to look at it and be like, okay, I have this many tools with me in my bag. Because you're always carrying a bag that's got shit in it, and it's what it is a bunch of experience and confidence is in that bag. And some people's bag's light. It's really light. When you start looking in it, you're like, damn, son, now you had all this time. What were you doing with that? You know what I mean? And like, that's how we talk to people right now, right? How long did you spend on your Xbox? How long did you spend on this? You could have had a damn PhD in the time that you were dealing with this bullshit. You know what I mean? Use that time wisely. And just be the best that you can be. At whatever you're doing, just keep going and keep striving, and don't worry about rank. God, man, don't chase the promotion. If you chase and that's what, chase the schools, chase the experience, chase everything that is going to get you back home from your deployment, because a promotion will never get you home safe. It will never. And you'll see people that, well, I figured out the system, I'm going to go do this, and I'm like, that shit will never get you home safe. And when the music stops and you step off that ride, everything that you think is around you will go away. And man, people will look at you and be like, no, man, like you weren't the dude that you could have been. And you could have been, so be that person, man. Just keep working hard, striving.
No, it's good advice. Very, very good advice. Man, RB, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Like, I've been wanting to get you on here for a bit. I knew it was going to be a powerful message. Just like, I mean, I still look up to you, even though like we're friends and hang out, but like you were just such an impressionable guy on me and, my early 20s.
Sure.
So I just wanted to thank you, and I got a gift for you. So had this planned. I hope you like it.
Nice.
That's why I put my initials on it earlier. This is my my first print. I don't know if the cameras can even see this, but I couldn't think of a better person I wanted to give this to. And this is the first and only print I have ever done. But,
no, and I seen it when it went on the first time, and I was like, dude, that's sick. I was like, he's next level. Like, man, that's like, not only do you go out there and witness it, but now you want to snap it and you want to stop it and freeze it in time.
Yeah.
And now you get, this is awesome.
Yeah. No. So
out of all the shit you could be doing, and look what this says great things about where you're at mentally.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've seen some dark shit some other people had, and I'm like, man, I sure would have liked to seen a pelican right now.
Yeah, but yeah, I hope you
No,
enjoy
man.
this at the house.
It's just, yeah, I know right where it's going. No, it's awesome. Yeah, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, bro.
All right, well, that's a wrap.
Yeah, so here we're sitting on 21 acres here. When I originally first bought this, as you walk down earlier and you come down, you seen that pond. I originally bought the 8 acres, and I always wanted this up here, but somebody held on to the 13 acres, and I was trying to get it, and it took a long time. But it finally worked its way out. So now it's brought us up here, and you see how important it is to have the hillside and then work your way back down towards the front 8, I guess if you call it. But we kind of got our front 10 and back 10, I guess, for the 21. And there's Benny, of course.
So our dogs.
Yeah, so we were talking about this earlier. We were asking, like, where do we live out here? We don't live out here. There's no humans at all that live out here. These dogs run the show. They're head of security. So when we first started the farm, like I told you one time, we first started just kind of feeding deer out here, and then we brought our first 6 pigs on, and they were down in the low ground. We fenced them in like 3 acres or something like that. And every now and then they'd get out, and then we're like, okay, well, since we're fenced in the whole 21, maybe we just let them start using the entire land. But we were trying to concentrate them on the clearing so that they could focus and clear. And like if you would have seen this before, like where we're sitting right now, you'd be on your hands and knees trying to crawl through here. I mean, it was, they've absolutely changed this entire, this farm. And matter of fact, before we get out here, I need to drop a tree and show you, show how that happens, how well they do it. And they should do real well with that today. So yeah, when we're out clearing, all we got to do is drop a tree. They'll completely clean it for us, take every leaf off of it. We'll limb it with the chainsaw, take the limb off, and then we'll end up with something like this right here. And then we'll bring this over, put it on the sawmill, cut it up, and then turn it into lumber, and then build something for the animals. So everything's out here gets just pretty much built for the animals.
Just gets reused.
That's right. We try to take everything and reuse it. We try not to, like you see we got a little burn pile going today, but I have a shredder and a chipper over there. So what we like to do is take our wood and send it to the shredder and chipper, get it on the ground, let their pee and manure get on it, as crazy as that sounds, go pick that back up, bring it, scatter it over the ground, and it just changes over time. Right now where we're sitting, I mean, you can see the red dirt like it used to be here, right? So, but now you see the colors changed. But if you come out here and you start digging into the ground a little bit and you go down a little bit, you're gonna see how, matter of fact, you seen one of my forks earlier and you see on them forks right there, see that red clay that sits on it? So that's when I got a little bit below, but that's what they've done and changed over time with their doing what they do, eating food and then dropping it out the back end. They've changed red dirt into brown dirt, you know, and eventually you'll get that black dirt that you're looking for. And then you can grow just about anything in it. So
what's this one's name?
This is Eve and Eden. So this one's, so their mama, so that's 100% Kiko right there. And her sister was, she's around here somewhere. She'll come back in a minute. But yeah, so you can tell they're bottle fed. They want full attention all the time. Their mama died, it was sad, died and fell on her. Oh. And when it fell on her, it fell right here on the back, right? And it pushed her legs straight out. And they were, she couldn't use them. So I took these, so I took a piece of this. I took 2 pieces of it because these were stuck out right here and they drug, and it was like, she walked on the top of her, feet. That's how she walked, and she dragged them. So I took these and stuck them on there. And after about 2-3 weeks, she started using them right. And then you can't even tell she's ever had a problem.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, when I found her, her mom was laying on her. She was just right on her back. Her mom had passed. She had complications after the birth, and we weren't here just to catch it, and which was sad because it was our 100% Kiko. We loved her to death, but we still got her babies now. So,
and all animals here, free range everywhere.
Everybody goes
to the lake.
Doesn't matter where they go. They can go do whatever they want. They have the entire area to themselves. We have a couple pens in the back, so if they're so I know he caught a couple pictures of the kids that we have. We got 5 baby goats on the ground. We call them kids. But we'll pin them up for about a week so they can just have nothing but 100% time with mama and baby. So, because it can get confusing out here because they'll hide their babies, go do their stuff, and then come back to their babies. And it can just get a little confusing. We just want to make sure they build that good relationship right at the bat, let them out, and then they're usually good to go. Pigs, we have to pin up because these dogs, man, they're great, but they do not like baby pig because they make that little squeaking noise, and man, they'll just, I mean, it's sad what'll happen, but they'll absolutely destroy the whole nest.
But the big pigs, they all walk around like
That's right. So as soon as, after about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you let the pigs out, they're fine. The dogs don't mess with them. But when they're babies, man, it's just something triggers them and they go in, and it's almost like a cat going into finding mice. I mean, they'll just, you know, they'll just tear it all up, everything. But
This little girl's awesome.
oh yeah, she's a sweetheart. So they're our little icons. So we come here, they're always waiting for us. Those are going to come to us. I mean, so the dogs are always going to come to us, but those two, they follow us around. Whatever we're doing, if we're building, working, they'll always be laying right beside us. That's the bottle fed for sure.
And then all the products you sell, you can sell from just direct to you, the farmers markets.
Yeah, so normally it took a while to build my clientele. It's people act like they're so into like healthy foods and stuff, man, and I'm like, really? Like, I mean, I've been selling in Niceville for 5 years, and man, like we go every other month to the processor. So we used to take 5 pigs, then we took 3 pigs, now we're down to 2 pigs. So nobody really wants good stuff. They want to say that they want it, but I don't know, maybe we'll see. But we are going to be more expensive. I mean, we're corn-free, we're soy-free, we're antibiotic-free. There's no chemicals, no pesticides. I own this land since I was in the Army, and we talked about that before. So if we go back how long that was, I mean, that was in 95, 90, I probably bought this place in 97, 98. This thing's never had nothing on it ever. No chemicals, no nothing. It's just been, you know, wild forest, doing what it was doing. And now we're slowly developing it into a farm. It's, I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Takes a little bit of time to do it, but it's been quite the adventure, and healing too. So, and we talked about that earlier too, because I mean, like, you're out here, there's nothing out here. There's not another person. There's nothing. Not saying that people can't help you heal too, but sometimes you just need to get away from it all and kind of figure it out and just spend some time in nature. And like I said, these animals, man, they don't have really bad days. I mean, you show up here, you could be the worst day ever, but they don't care. They're gonna come and love on you. So they're always gonna come and love you. So no matter what day you're having, they're always having a day that they're excited to see you.
And it's a good distraction because you ain't got to think about yourself. You got to think about them.
No, right. And then, yeah, and then you have to care and feed. And I mean, if you were doing your job right, like in the military, and we transfer over, I mean, and you cared and loved for people, man, now I care and love for animals. So it just transfers on. And you can tell. I mean, they're all happy. They come up. I mean, animals that don't, if they're in fear, they don't want to be nowhere near you. They're going to run, be scared, terrified. And these animals, they're so curious, man.
The cool thing is they all get along too.
Oh, they
the goats, the chickens, the pigs, they all just...
They do.
They're everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, they all do. They all get along and they all protect each other. So, I mean, it's really amazing to watch, like when something goes down. And the guineas will probably be the first indicator. Mm-hmm. They'll start chirping and letting something know. As soon as they chirp, here comes these dogs coming in at 100 miles an hour. The pigs will circle things up. I mean, I've come before and had pigs just completely circled up around a raccoon and had it cornered. I'm like, holy cow. I mean, they kind of act like dogs too. Yeah. They kind of bark like dogs and act like dogs.
And these guys will fight coyotes. They'll fight.
Oh man, like, yeah. So if you look at these back.
On the back paw.
Can you see how there's 2?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what they do. They hook them down and they pin them, and then we'll come here and we'll know because we'll look at them. They'll have blood all over them, and we'll know that they got into something. We'll have to go follow around and find out what they got into. But that's the indication when we see blood on the white dogs. So
yeah.
But they defend us. I mean, we don't lose anything with these animals around.
Well, I think that's enough we got there, Randy. We can walk around, showcase the farm a little bit.
Yeah, take a look at a couple things.
Let's do that. I like that.
I'm gonna cut those off, and then this side will be a little bit higher. That'll be the back, and it'll kind of drop down to it. And then we'll put a loft in here a little bit so we can store some stuff for them. But then they can come in here, get out of the weather, do what they want. You know, get a little bit of time.
You just self-taught yourself this, or just YouTube, Google?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit of Google or YouTube. YouTube is, I always like to pull up a YouTube and see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. There's always somebody like me that's kind of got a farm somewhere, starting to run a sawmill or do something, and you know, cut up some wood. And man, once I kind of figured out I could do this, at first I was trying to do it with just round wood. Then I'm like, man, once you cut them sides and make it, and then once you really have the right equipment, You got the board edger that can just cut it into tell it what you want. Want a 2x6, 2x8, 2x4, 2x12, boom, and then just start throwing it up there and then build it out. But that'll look, even by tomorrow, that'll have the roof on and be ready to start siding out. And then we'll determine if we want to do horizontal or vertical. We might do vertical on this one just to change it up a little bit, do something a little different. So they got feeders that are set up. One's hanging over there, there's one over there. There's feeders that just kind of go off at all different times. And we just kind of come out here and maintain them. When we're out here, we give them extra feed.
And this used to be the jungle.
This used to be,
like you could not walk.
No, not at all, nothing. The brush, so the easiest way is look on the other side of the farm.
Yeah.
You see it? That's what this looked like. They did all of this. So let's talk about pigs first, if that's okay. So when the food industry, they're gonna give you, that pig is gonna come out and be ready for sale and pick up for a consumer within 6 months, probably. Within 6 months. It takes us about 2 years to grow out our pigs. So we're so much more invested, so much more money into it. They live you can already tell, they live a life. They get to go stick their nose in the ground. They get to go live and be the pig that they're supposed to be. I mean, shoot, most of the pigs that you're actually buying from a market, they've never stepped foot on dirt in their entire life. They've been on a cement floor. So it's sad when you almost think about it, but so with the goat, it takes us a while, probably. I won't take anything under a year. I want them to come up and get a life, but probably, you don't want to be a male on a farm because either you need to be the male or you're in trouble because you're getting cut and then probably going to butcher. And it don't matter if it's a cow or anything, whatever it is. So probably about 1.5 years is when we'll start getting them going. So it really depends. It depends how, what kind of goat you're dealing with. So if you look, we got the boars. If you see a red and a white, that's a boar goat. So anywhere you see the red and the white blending, that's a boar, so it's a bigger goat. The Kiko is kind of a smaller goat, but we mix the Kiko with the boar because the Kiko comes from New Zealand, and that is a real resilient goat. Matter of fact, it doesn't need much. It really doesn't. It doesn't need its hooves trimmed. It doesn't need all the vaccines. It don't need really anything. So, and we don't do it here. So that's why we try to get a boar with a bigger frame. We take the Kiko, put it over the boar, and then what we get is a resilient goat that we don't have to, we don't do any vaccinations, we don't do anything. I mean, if we think that there needs to be a worming, but we don't. Our food, the Tucker Millen feed that we use has a natural deterrent in it. They'll use diatomaceous earth and a couple other things that they use to keep away the worms. They create they make it an environment that the worms don't want to live in. So we don't really deal with any of that around here. The easiest way is just watch all your animals defecating, if you will. I mean, just watch and make sure that, if it's loose, you probably are starting to run into a problem. But everything should just look clean, and that's something that we don't deal with. But once again, like I say this before, our animals have all this room to spread out. They're not in a pen, capped, and having to live in their feces. I tell people, like, you go to a hospital or a prison when you're just all on top of each other, man, you're gonna have to give antibiotics, you're gonna have to do something. And nothing different than being in the military when I would go down range and they would give us doxycycline or something, and just because they knew we were gonna be in a situation that we're gonna be around folks that could probably pass something to us. Well, here we just make sure everybody has plenty of room, plenty to eat, and they have a good environment. Folks think they need a lot more than they do, but they really don't. I'll build them something real nice and they don't care. They'll go find a nice oak hammock, get under that during a storm. They decide where they want to go. They pick that all out. But I'd say they live pretty good lives. Sometimes I'm jealous of them.
Well, that looks pretty good. That's why that little one right there ran that little pig you got near him.
Oh yeah, there's something else.
Well, this is my spot.
The best is when you watch them use the pigs. So they'll, for instance, if they want to get in the back of my truck, they wait till a pig gets up there, then they jump on its back and then jump into the back of the truck. They use the pigs for leverage a lot.